Yo, this is KD,
And this is David.
and we are the K&D Exchange, where we exchange music, and as a result, we exchange ideas, bridging the gap between old and new, with all original music produced by. Enjoy. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the K&D Exchange. I am KD, joined with my co-host, David. What's up, David?
What's up, KD? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thought I'd ask you this time how you are, instead of just rushing through it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Last week started off as a bit of a it was a bit
Yeah,
of a yeah, but it's all right. It was frenetic. It was cool. Like this week we're a bit more considered.
It's because people don't see the fucking shenanigans that you get up to on screen just after the fucking Zoom countdown starts, which then throws me off. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man.
In all fairness, though, I think some of the people will see it. I'm thinking of putting a video together because we've got two examples of a bit of a bit of a mess. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah, I'll put a video together.
All right, cool. So yeah, for those returning listeners, thank you very much for rocking with us. For those who are new, quick summary of the format. Basically, we give each other albums to listen to each week, and we swap who gives an album. So one week I will give David an album to listen to. The following week he would then give me an album to listen to. The idea is that we give an album that the other person has not heard at all, which we are familiar with. And that way it's two different perspectives coming in. So one coming in fresh and one coming in from a place of familiarity, in an attempt to bridge the gap. Speaking of which, make sure you follow us on the K&D Exchange, Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, all of that. So yeah, exchange number 34. What album did you give me to listen to, David?
Wow, number 34 already, man. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you go up numerically, I guess. I gave you Linkin Park's second album called Meteora.
Right.
And it was released 24th of March 2003.
That's right. Little side note. Every time unless I'm just tapped, right? I write down the release date of all these albums in my notes.
Yeah.
Like in the notes that I've written for each album. And every time you say the release date, it always happens to be a day before the date I've written down. So is everywhere else that I've got my info from just a bit off or a bit wrong?
So I actually remember
am I just writing it down wrong?
No. There's a lot of like misinformation, right? Like going around. So as a quick aside, like so I use Deezer, and it says that like one of my a favorite album of mine is Incubus's what's it called, Morning View, and that was released in 2002, and I know that vividly because I went on holiday in the August of 2002 to the Caribbean. And so I was listening to a bunch of the songs from the album. But however, on Deezer, it says that it was released in 2004. Were like, me and my wife, we were watching the Chappelle Show on Netflix. It says that it came out in 2005. I was like, I finished uni in that year, and I was rocking with Dave Chappelle in 2002. So there's a bit of jiggery pokery. I actually remember the day this came out. This album.
That's so weird because I keep thinking it's like a day discrepancy, but you're right. When I go on Spotify, sometimes do you know what it is? Actually, I noticed that for some albums, if they have like a deluxe version, it just defaults to the date of the deluxe. Or sometimes it's like if it's something that was released before, didn't get put on streaming until now, whoever's uploaded it has set the date to just this year's date.
Wrong. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
there's a lot of misinformation,
God, that's annoying,
bro.
So annoying, yeah. But okay, at least it's just one day out.
Yeah, The thing is,
Yeah,
it really annoys me because I'm like, when I was talking to my wife about Incubus, she was like, "Well,
yeah,
no, I mean, if the app says it, I think even Apple had it as like 2004 or something." I was like, "No, they released Crow Left of the Murder." Incubus did in 2004. I know that shit.
yeah,
And then like it's
yeah.
got me like, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, man.
Yeah, I'm
It's
second
it's
guessing
annoying.
myself. I'm like, no, I know where I was because I've attached memory to it. But anyway,
No, I get you, man. I get that completely. But yeah, so this album, let's jump into this. I mean, obviously, you've given me kind of like a few. I mean, you gave me Cypress Hill, which is more in my lane, I guess. But you have given me a few. Uh, what's it called? When you go left. I'm trying to think of a nicer way of saying it. But yeah, a few left turns, few left turns. Let's just say that. Some worse than others.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I'll give you Skin Dread because I've listened to that again, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but some of them like aren't bad. They just don't. There's been like variety, right? Which is cool because then it's opening me up to the
Yeah,
variety within those genres. Because it's like Deftones was, oh, there's certain bits that I like, but not this, which is then making me realize, oh, I actually these kind of vocalists maybe aren't my
bag.
aren't my vibe, yeah, aren't my bag. Whereas some other ones like Rage Against the Machine, it's like, yeah, this is solid and this is so just sonically pleasing, and it's only like 10 or 12 songs. It's got a real direction and drive to it, you know. I still think about that album every now and then, the album cover comes up in my head when I do that little cycle through in my head of, okay, what am I going to listen to today, or on my drive here, or when I do this or go there, and it does come up right in the kind of jukebox in my head.
Yeah, man.
But I still have yet to kind of. It feels like it deserves a real listen for me to
Hmm.
put it on again. So I have to be walking somewhere. Or I have to be with a good pair of headphones. I have to be on a train somewhere with my headphones. I have to, you know what I mean? It's not just background while I'm cleaning the dishes or anything like that, which might
Agreed.
take 10 minutes. But yeah, so this album, I mean, I haven't heard a Linkin Park album in full before. Obviously, I knew who they were, but I think I heard of them when I was young because of Jay-Z and that whole Collision Course thing that they
Hmm.
did. Because I wasn't really part of that world. But that I think that this kind of music was quite prevalent back then, more so than hip hop. So, and especially where I was. So I kind of wanted to be into it as well. And it had that big sound to it where it was like, oh yeah, it could really speak to the angst or the rage, or just that energy rush, you know, with the big guitars and everything. But it wasn't too off putting where it was like really, really rocky, if that makes sense. Like some rock music for me that I was hearing back then was too fast paced and too kind of just, I don't know. It was I don't know what to call that kind of music, like that kind of more old schoolish kind of shit, like
Oh, you mean good music?
uh, debatable, but yeah. But yeah, so I remember hearing Jay-Z on that and I'm thinking, oh, this is sick. And then people at school actually liked it as well, which is cool. But then I'd always see that the Collision Course album in my like in my HMV or whatever I'd go to.
Hmm.
I just never. It was always on my list to pick it up, but then I would always be in there looking for a different album to buy, and
Yeah.
going with my parents, it was like, oh man, I can only pick one or two at the most, and I've come in with a clear goal of what I wanted to get. I'd always see it and be like, one day I'll just pick it up. There was one of the few, like one of many albums that I would see the cover for and think I'm gonna pick that up at some point, but I never did. So I still haven't listened to that whole thing like to this day. Um, but yeah, so this was kind of cool to get into. Uh,
Just as a
let's go track by track.
Yeah, man, let's
Yeah,
do
go
that.
on.
Just as a quick aside, I'd recommend that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
listen to Collision Course. They did like a bunch of live performances that I still think you can
Okay.
see on YouTube. There's one in particular, which is, oh my goodness, I can hear it. Points of Authority, and if you're having girl trouble, 99 Problems. Listen to
Yeah.
that live, and that will like it doesn't sound as good on the album, but if you listen to them do it live, it's
Right.
really, really good. But anyway, sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'll
think
check
you
it
should
out.
listen
No,
to
no, no,
that
for sure.
first, and then maybe go back to the album. But anyway,
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'll do that. Um, but yeah, I don't know whether to go into some of how, like, my overview of how I felt before jumping in, and then each song will kind of help build, explain on that.
yeah. Well, let's
Yeah,
do that,
actually,
man.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let me do that. I'm gonna give it. So I thought this was a good album, just off the bat, straight off the bat. Um, I can see and understand why they're so popular. Like, clearly, I always knew they were.
hmm
Um, I can see why everyone loves Chester so much, and I'm not just saying that because he's passed away.
Oh
Um,
man,
yeah,
how
I,
could you do it to us, Chester? Honestly,
yeah,
so sad.
I actually do understand his appeal, and I think I even understood it when I was a kid and I heard the Numb Encore mashup. I
Yeah,
mean, his voice just wasn't off. He was screaming. He was doing what people on the outside, I guess, would just refer to as, he's screaming like all the other people. But it there was something different about it, and I'm not sure what it is. If it's his tone, if it's the way he's doing it,
yep.
if it's the music underneath it, I don't know what it is.
It's
But
all of it's all of
yeah,
that. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
he's
So it's probably all of
exceptional.
that.
He's an
Yeah,
exceptional
okay.
vocalist, an exceptional singer.
Yeah, I'm not definitely not going to deny that, especially after listening to this whole body of work and reading up on some of the background on it as well for like each song or whatever. There's just some really interesting things that he in terms of the creation of some of the songs. There's some really interesting backstory in some of them. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love Chester's voice. I've already said that. I like a lot of the musical elements in here. There's
Yeah,
some parts I don't vibe with too much, but I think that's just a part of the genre itself. I think that's just
sure.
something have had to accept. It's just something I don't necessarily gel with. And there's things within my chosen genre, which is hip hop, that I don't vibe with either, and I don't really listen to that part of it. And it's such a
Yeah, man.
wide ranging thing. Um, I have to say, from the offset, I am not really the biggest fan of Mike Shinoda.
I knew you wouldn't be.
Um, yeah, okay, cool.
I knew. Do you know what?
I'm
I was
not.
like, I knew this. Right? Why? Why?
There's something about his delivery, his tone. It's not bad. It's not like I will sit there and be like, oh, this guy's terrible. It's just that it doesn't grab me. It sounds a little bit dated back to that kind of Limp Bizkit era of kind of
Thou
white rock
shalt
rap. Do
not
you know what I mean? I'm
besmirch
not
Limp
comparing the
Biscuit. No, I'm
two.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Limp Biscuit have turned
I don't
out some
what
absolute dross. But yeah.
yeah. But back in the day, I remember some of their stuff and thinking, even now, just saying their name, I was like, oh yeah, back in the day, there used to actually be a group where like their songs would actually come up in rotation. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's that. People like that song. People like that song and all that stuff.
Yeah. They
Um,
had bangers. Anyway.
yeah. But it's not just this guy. Have you heard a group, a hip hop group called Atmosphere?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the main guy in that, I can't remember what his name is. I just can't remember. But oh no, I think I might embarrass myself. I have to look this up quickly, David, because if the main guy, if his name is what I think it is,
Yeah. It's who I'm looking it up
oh,
too.
I just typed in atmosphere and it comes up with a picture of the Earth. Slug, that's his name. Okay, for one split second, I thought, wait, it's Mike Shinoda's not part of Atmosphere, is he?
No,
And then
he's
this is just
part of
something he
Fort
did
Minor.
after Linkin Park. But okay, that's answered another question I had for later on.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. I was trying to think of who that group was because there's one song on here which kind of really encapsulated that divide I had listening to this between my love for Chester and my not dislike of Mike, but kind of my kind of okay, whatever.
I
Kind of
wonder if
wait,
it's going to
like
be Nobody's Listening that we're talking about.
nah, it's not. It's actually not.
Oh,
It's actually
all
not.
right, cool.
It's actually not. But yeah, so there's something. So yeah, Atmosphere. So Slug from Atmosphere. I actually have grown to like him and his music,
hmm
but at the beginning, the problem I had was when I heard his voice and his vocal tone, it reminded me of rappers like this, of like Mike Shinoda, who there's something, I don't know if it's where they're from in America, but there's something about it. It sounds it sounds very much white guy. His rap tries it and kind of tries too hard. Do you know what I mean? It gives me that vibe a little bit too much sometimes.
So while I do hear it, he like with Mike, he's
He's better
somebody
than
that
that
is
though.
he's in love with hip hop. Especially if you hear
I
like
can
so I
tell.
was
I can tell.
massively nerdy and I knew of a bunch of their B-sides and unreleased stuff. Like this is back
Oh,
in the
okay,
day.
cool.
So they were known as Zero and then Hybrid Theory. And then
Okay, yeah.
they became Linkin Park,
They
right?
had an
And then
EP, right? Called Hybrid Theory. Is that
well that
right?
was their first
Or were
album.
that was the group? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah, the
I
first
saw that
album,
on one of the backgrounds.
yeah, it's the soldier with the dragonfly wings.
Right, okay, okay.
Holding a flag. Like it's so that you can tell like he was trying a lot. They were more focused on rap, I think, at the start, and then they became
Yeah,
when they became Linkin Park, they were sort of hang on a minute, we'll incorporate hip hop in there. Um,
sure.
in the first album, and then in this second album, they expanded way more because Mike,
Sure,
well, he can play guitar, he can play piano, like he does a lot. So in
sure.
this album especially, there's a hell of a lot more of expansive stuff, and he pulls back, I think, a lot on the rapping. But then at the same time,
Okay.
I do hear what you're saying because I remember my problem was I love the vibe, I love the flow of Mike's like delivery. However, I just found that his voice isn't if they had like your voice or my voice, like the depth, the bass in there
I think
to
it, yeah,
to match
yeah,
like Chester's aggression. Because Chester had the high pitched scream, or he could sing like a flipping angel, or he could do the low growls
yeah,
and stuff. You needed somebody who was just as like almost menacing and almost as maybe like narky, like somebody just as sort of dark in places as
yeah.
Chester could be, and somebody as dynamic. And this is the thing, because like with Mike, especially when you hear him live, Chester's doing bits, right? He's
Right?
smashing it, right? And then Mike's
Yeah.
like, yo, like he's all up
Oh,
there,
okay,
and it's
right. I
like,
see.
no, where's the
Yeah.
growl? Like, give me
Yeah.
depth,
That's
like
that's actually, yeah, made me think he sounds sometimes like when you get a singer who or someone's doing, like, let's say they're making like a rock tune or whatever, even
yeah,
like an R&B song, and then they get someone, they're like, okay, we have this section of the song here, let's get someone to rap on it because that's cool. And then someone comes on, he sounds a bit like that guy that they would get who can put some words together that rhyme or whatever, but
yeah,
he is better than that. I'm purely going to the extreme just to
definitely, yeah,
explain my thought on it, because I can tell when you said that he sounds like he loves hip hop, or he's someone who
yeah.
does love hip hop. You mentioned Nobody's Listening. I mean, we'll get to that song, but I can tell just on the strength of that alone. But yeah, there's something about those kind of rappers with those tones
Yeah,
that just don't do it for me. They sound a bit too try hardy, and that's not really for
I
me.
can hear it, but I also find that in this album, like Mike is extremely honest in ways that he wasn't so much in the first album. You got to listen
Sure,
to the
okay,
first album, bro. Like
okay, maybe
it's
that will help.
it's like
Yeah,
wall to wall. Like it is one of the most perfect albums I've ever heard in my life. Like genuinely, there isn't anything wrong with that album. It's beloved of mine.
okay.
Um, but especially in this one, there's like a little more introspection from Mike, especially because Chester, you can
I
tell, has
noticed.
got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
anxiety.
yeah,
He's,
100%.
I mean, he when they sing, crawling, track number 5 on the first album. Um, when you listen to those lyrics, for example, that all that angst is pure Chester. No one else wrote that.
Sure, okay,
Chester did.
sure.
Um, but in this album, especially on there's a song called Figure Point Nine. Like it's just one line that Mike says, and I'm like, oh my goodness! Like there's so much depth and
Yeah,
honesty in
right,
it,
okay,
And this is
yeah.
why, like, I don't think he's necessarily the best or the most technical rapper or whatever. However, there's something about him as a person that just works so well in this well-oiled machine of a band.
100% I get that, because I mean, on this, it's like I wasn't thinking the whole way through like, oh man, this Mike guy, man, he needs to get off these songs.
Mm,
It's like It was like he fits, and I can see the chemistry between them, but it's those other elements that it's just unfortunate that he has those other elements about him, which he probably maybe just can't change because of maybe where he's from, who he is, whatever. That's cool. That's fine. But it's funny that you mentioned Fort Minor. Was he part of that?
Yeah.
Okay, no wonder. So okay? I might as well just ask it now. What's the name of that big song that they had?
Oh, dude, I cannot remember. I know it.
10% something, 30% pain,
30% work, and
oh god, Jesus Christ,
the 50 battle of will or something like that. Yeah,
oh no,
yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Do you know what though? However, they did some amazing collaborations. Like Together We Made It with Busta Rhymes, Linkin Park and Busta Rhymes.
Oh really?
That was awesome.
Oh, Linkin Park. Oh, okay.
Like Mike Chester with. But then, but then you had Fort Minor, and I was like, nah, I never liked them. I didn't like it. But they did have.
I only ever knew that song.
Did you ever hear "It's Going Down" by the Executioners featuring Linkin Park?
No, don't think
right. So
but I recognize the song.
When you listen to it, like it will, you will have a bit of a love for Mike. Like you will,
okay,
because it really works in the right setting. He dominates.
Sure.
He's really good. Like, I think some of the lyrics that he comes up with, one of my favorites out of that song is, oh my goodness, now I've forgotten it. We'll take you on an audible odyssey. No, wait, cleverly see whatever is ahead of me, whatever the weather be. Oh, I can't remember the lyric. It's gone. Anyway.
Okay.
Is
this the one with Busta Rhymes, or is this a different one?
Oh, do you know what? No, I have to call it up now. I've just absolutely embarrassed myself.
I think maybe because like you said, if he's on a song with Busta Rhymes or the Executioners or whoever, he's got that love for hip hop. He's probably stepping his game up to a different level.
Well, yeah, and he's rapped with Jay-Z for crying out loud, and you can
you
can hear like the absolute tears. Right, so Jay-Z was Jay-Z, and then you got Mike, like so many rungs on the ladder down. Like it's it's not through want of trying or anything like that, but it's just like there's a gravitas that I think a true rapper has, like a true. I say rapper in the truest sense of the words. Common, Black Thought, Eminem, R.A. the Rugged Man, guys like that.
They've get on got the mic that gravitas. And dominate.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And unfortunately, like Mike is
even Common.
Huh?
I was saying even Common. Yeah, I was adding to your.
Oh yeah. I think I said Common at the top, but if I didn't,
I mean, because like of his laid back delivery, he still dominates. Do you know what I mean? Because there's the gravitas there. So some of those other names you mentioned, like they're known for like coming in forceful. Someone like R.A. the Rugged Man, he's got a big voice. Someone like Eminem, he's aggressive.
Yeah, he's dominant.
Common, he's like Common and Black Thought. They just like, obviously Black Thought is like a rapper's rapper, but Common can come in and just sound like he's talking on the microphone and still dominate because he's just got a flair about him. He's got the gravitas about him when he really wants to.
He can go on hard beats though. Like one of the hardest beats I think 100%. I've ever listened to is what is it on Prime?
On Prime, Wishing.
That for me is a really hard beat. It's just hard. And the way Common just comes on it, like almost effortlessly, he's like a desert breeze just going over the dunes.
Oh, 100%, man.
100%. But it's just such a hard, grimy beat. It's so shrill and all of that. And he is basically like the honey and lemon to a sore throat. Like he's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, the Dream of the Believer album has some hard tunes on it as well, like Ghetto Dreams and Raw and Sweet. And what's the other album that Kanye did? It's got a terrible front cover. Finding Forever.
Forever, yeah.
The front cover really dates it, yeah.
Oh, but Break My Heart on that album is it's one of my favorite Common tunes ever. Like the sample, the vocal sample is just so good. It's just the color purple. It's beautiful. I love that song so much. That album. Do you know what? Common had a great run with like B and then Finding Forever, and
Oh
He had a
yeah,
great few album run, and then he did Universal Mind
100%.
Control, and then came back. It's like, come back.
Yeah, and
But
then
anyway,
came back after that. Sorry, yeah.
we
So
veered off. Sorry.
Mike Shinoda. Yeah, there's yeah, Fort Minor we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that song I can't even remember what it's called, but it's one of those typical kind of dramatic strings, big beat.
Yeah, it's obvious.
And yeah, not in a rude way, but this is just a purely observational way. But it's kind of like accessible hip hop song for white people, or at least the kind
young
of
people.
young.
I'd say
wider,
younger. Yeah.
Yeah, younger as well. There's an overlap there, but I mean for like the kind of a white audience across the board, music
Well,
audience.
that hip hop's just good, clean, and
Yeah.
wholesome.
Exactly. Right. The type where the main, well, back then more so, maybe not as much now, but like where they all latch on and be like, oh wow, this is really, really cool. This is really clever, and it's just so powerful. It's so
deep,
whatever.
man.
Yeah. And it's like the thing is that the reason I don't get bored of a song like Lose Yourself, which sometimes gets put up in that same category. Because some people have asked this question of why is that Fort Minor song considered so corny, but something like Lose Yourself, which is a big motivational song, also done by another white rapper. Why is it so different?
Because you got grit in one.
Yeah, you got grit in one. You've got this. There's something about Eminem which is this purity where he you almost forget he's white. You know what I mean? So you don't even see it like that. You kind of just see him as part of. He's really earned his place in the genre. He's not just another. People like to say, like, yeah, he is a white rapper, obviously, but in my eyes, like, I just forget that he's white a lot of the time. He's just part of the genre to me. Whereas there are some other rappers who are like, oh, okay, yeah, he's. I don't know. They use their whiteness as their shtick. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that like probably an Asian rapper might, always talk about being Asian or whatever else. Do you know what I mean? Or female rappers who only talk about being female, things like that. Because the dominating force in hip hop, probably less so now, but it's still male and black, right? At least at its roots. So if someone like Eminem to come in and actually earn his place, it feels well earned. Do you know what I mean? And that song is so beautifully written, so well performed, and it's not too in your face about its intentions. The Fort Minor song is too kind of on the nose. It's too like you mix 10% this, 30%. Oh jeez.
I can hear the song.
I know.
I think I've listened to it like all of once, like in its entirety. Same. I don't think I've listened to the whole thing because even I had that kind of allergic reaction. However, on the right thing, Mike Shinoda can deliver. And like there are songs in this album, there are songs in the first album where I'm like, and there are unreleased songs as well, where when he's given like the freedom, he's actually really good. Like he's more of a poet than a rapper, but he's
that's
good.
what he came off as. Yeah,
he's
no.
Good.
Is that Mike Shinoda? So Mike Shinoda is part of Fort Minor.
Yeah.
Right. Is he the main? Like,
I think he was the main guy. Do you know what? I don't really remember. Like, because I don't think
that song
a few years ago, I tried to get back like sort of into them again.
Okay.
But then I think I got like 2 songs in, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, I just don't think that kind of production really because then unfortunately the whole thing about I said earlier in the episode about he has that tone of voice which is a bit feels a bit like, oh, guy comes across rap music and says, oh, I'll try this, and then tries a bit too hard. Not saying that he's trying too hard, but sometimes the delivery and tone can sound a bit like that, especially from back then. So then if you put someone like that on a really overly dramatic beat like that Fort Minor song has, where it's trying to be in your face and be like, this is motivational, be motivated when you hear this, it's not a good pairing. Whereas, we'll get to it, but the song like, what's it called again? Nobody's Listening. Perfect.
It's just awesome because you buy him as well. He's got a head full of anger held in his chest. Like, you 100%, hear it, man. Yeah.
Throughout this album, I was thinking this about Mike, but I was thinking there is something I still like about him. There is something there
Absolutely.
I still like about him. There's just certain things I can't. It's the same with like with Macklemore back in like when he was big in 2013, 2014. There was something I liked about him. I thought his delivery was cool and some of that stuff, but there was something about his tone of voice that just when I would listen to a whole album, it just felt it just wasn't for me. It didn't really fit the vibe for me. But yeah, but that song definitely showed like that. I mean, I can understand, like you said, if Mike Shinoda's with on a song with Busta Rhymes and Jay-Z and all these people, then he's gonna show himself the best way he possibly can. These songs are more like crafted with intention, with not necessarily for him to come in and be like, oh, I killed this, like this beat, because these songs don't feel like they're structured like that. They're not just beats to be killed. They're like songs to evoke an emotion or a theme or an idea or a feeling across to people. So he's not going to go in and just go hard with a million different flows and punchlines and all this sort of stuff. You're right. The poetic side comes out a bit more. So maybe it doesn't grab you in the same way from it as a hip hop listener. But
thing is, he's got flow, but in little bits, like
in little bit, yeah.
In Paper Cut, like he's got fast flow in him. He can do it, and you're like, okay. He demonstrates it in the same two lines. Within two lines in that song, and you're like, well, he's got it in him, and then he never does it again. And you're like, man, there's so much space. Like I reckon he could tear it down like with fast flow. I think he's got the kind of cadence and the voice for that kind of thing.
Yeah, so maybe
there was a bit of dynamism in the delivery, maybe, because it's all very with him. It's very, very one tone.
It's one tone. It's not monotone, but it is one kind of tone, right?
Yeah. But there are certain like inflections that you will hear, and you're like, that's honesty, or that's a bit of rage, or whatever. And maybe he saves it, for the live shows and stuff. You'll get caught up in the moment. Obviously, the adrenaline's up. Like, you're going to add a bit of bite to your voice anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're doing it live. But yeah, man, let's delve in. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to kind of get that out of the way just to and then build on that.
Just to shit on my boy, but yeah, go on.
So all right, forward. Yeah, it's like a cool kind of intro. It's got that little bit crushed sound, which is like the glass breaking. I tried for ages to think of what the word was, because this sound pops up across the album. I was like, I know what that sound is. What is it called? And I realized, like, as I got through the album, I was like, oh, bit crushed. That's it. Yeah, bit crushed. Yeah. So people listening who aren't with the kind of technical jargon, if you listen to the first song on here, that crushing sound that keeps coming up, it sounds like breaking glass, but sometimes it's incorporated into some of the songs on here. That's called a bit crush sound, because it's literally going down to the literally to the bit, as in of the audio. The audio is made up of bits or whatever, right? As in, sounds so overly technical now. It's made up of bits. Yes, bits of what? No, bits, just bits.
It's your shovel, mate. I'll see you in Oz.
Anyways, next song, Don't Stay. Apparently this is a subliminal diss to their label. I didn't know that, because obviously I didn't have any background on them. But regardless of that, sounds really cool.
I mean,
I don't actually mind the screaming too much.
A banger.
Yeah, I like the heaviness.
I mean,
stay stuck in my head a lot as well. Like, it's in my head right now.
Yeah. Forget our memories, forget our possibilities.
Yeah.
Just give me myself back and don't stay. I mean, that for me, like the one thing, the magic of Linkin Park is when you hear Mike and Chester together, like Mike saying it, Chester screaming it. Oh, that's the beauty of this band. Just give me myself back and don't stay. And then you've got oh my goodness, it's so good.
It is really good. It's a really good opening track for like the things. I remember putting it on and being like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Like this, like, obviously, like I said, I'd heard the mashup with Jay-Z, but way back in the day. So I had always had this idea of what Linkin Park sounded like in my head.
Yeah.
And this kind of fit that, but it was obviously more well-rounded because I'm listening to an actual album of theirs, not just what I think they sound like.
Yeah.
So that's a good opening track. Somewhere I Belong. The lyrics on this one slap.
Oh, absolutely. See, do you know what I mean about the honesty of Mike? I just
yeah.
absolutely,
And Chester as well.
Yeah, I absolutely adore this one.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad in hindsight when you know about what happened to Chester in the end.
Oh, I know.
It really kind of hit. I mean, listening to the things he was saying really just hit me on this one. And I was like, man, he's just explaining this so well. This feeling,
right?
and this, he's explaining it so well.
So I don't suffer with like anxiety, or as I've said many a times. But however, I do feel that Chester was a great window into understanding how some other people could like feel, and it was very much a really good picture he was painting of his own struggles. Like the fact that he's singing, "I want to heal, I want to feel, I want to feel." Was it? I want to find somewhere that's real, something like that. And then he goes, "Yeah, somewhere I belong." Yeah. But then there's also another song on the first album called "A Place for My Head," and you know, I want to be, with the energy, not with the enemy. A place for my head, you know, and it's just things like that where he's actually saying like he just wants to take a break, a holiday from his own thoughts.
Yeah.
You know,
it really hits. Like, I think, funnily enough, this is actually the song where I wrote down that Mike's rapping voice is not really for me. Even though I appreciated everything that was being said and the song itself, I was like, okay. It's just something about his. It's just something about it. I mean, you said you already knew that coming in. That you could kind of
100%, because it's gravitas. That's all Mike Shinoda's problem really is. It was gravitas. It's like the thing is my problem always was with Linkin Park, like whenever I'd hear an album, Mike's voice was lower because obviously the mic can pick up absolutely everything and they are produced. This album is one of the most stellar produced albums I've ever heard. It still sounds fresh.
It sounds 20 odd years. It sounds so good.
Oh my goodness, it's wonderful, right? It's almost like frozen in amber in time. Like this will not age, this album. But what was I saying? Yeah, so my main problem is, as I've highlighted it, the offset was basically like you'd hear the depth of his voice and what when he says, and I get lost in the nothing that's inside of me, and you're like, all right, okay, cool, that's low, right? You can kind of feel the depth of him. Whereas live, it's just about an octave higher, and it's like, we need the gravitas, man. But anyway, sorry, I'll stop harping on.
That makes sense. But yeah, that was a really good track, just overall.
Yeah, love it.
Now, Lying From You. This is a good song as well. But
it's a banger.
Yeah. It's not one of my. It's funny you say that because I actually wrote it's not one of my favorites, but Chester's parts fucking slap. Like I think that's the theme across this album.
For real.
I started feeling bad for Mike because I was just like, bro, I'm waiting for Chester to come and do his thing, man, because he's just gonna fucking kill it.
But this song in particular, like it really is all about Chester. But what I also love though is right. So the riff when that comes in, it was kind of like the first time that I remember the first time I heard this song. I was in my my house room at uni, and I remember I heard it and I had it on my subwoofer and it was really loud and I was like, wow, Linkin Park just got mean. Like,
right?
They had like aggressive like riffs and stuff like that, but a lot of it was steeped in rhythm. This just sounded mean, like really mean. And I was like, oh right, okay. And the thing that I love about the opening riff is like just how much of a cyclonic storm you're in.
Yeah.
And then when they bring it back into the middle eight, when Chester's like the very worst part of you, and he does the scream.
Yeah,
and then he just comes in, and then Mike starts rapping, and then they double up on Mike's vocals, like on the second half of the middle eight, and then you've just got the riff going. It's like you're in a maelstrom. This is like Linkin Park got mean, and as Chester's just it's just makes you want to rip your shirt and just
I know what you mean. Like when I was listening to it, like it sounds like all the guitars and all that sort of stuff. Like I don't know about you, but Numb always that beginning part always felt like ice, dark, deep, like this blue, right?
Right.
Listeners won't be able to see it, but it's like a really dark blue, and even maybe that kind of gold, but dark blue, icy, just sound.
Right.
So if you're trying to visualize the sound, to the point that you're almost like, what instrument even is that? I'm talking about the song Numb, not even talking about this one. But there's something about the sounds on this album when everything coalesces and comes together.
Yeah.
The guitars sound like big, like watery, like orange colors, really deep colors that come in, and his voice cuts through them, but is also fits in them. And it's just this, it's not harsh. It's not overly harsh.
No, it's
There's
not.
kind of smoothness to it, which then allows you to really kind of just feel it and just be like sitting there like, I feel powerful right now, just hearing this wall of sound, but not in a kind of, oh, this is killing my ears kind of thing, or oh, okay, yeah, I'm not really feeling this. It's like genuinely hitting on a little bit of a deeper level, not just the ears, but in kind of in here, like in your, not even the chest, like in your heart. Do you know what I mean? Like you're really feeling it. It's because it's aggressive, it's really driving, but it's smooth at the same time. So it's really kind of, it's like washing over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like sharpness going into your ears. Like, oh,
No.
you know,
it's really
sound.
Everything seems to be sort of like shaved down at the edges, if you know what I mean.
That's
like,
what it is. Yeah, the high end is kind of.
Yeah, it's a really, it's especially on Lying From You. Like I find that with so much going on, and we're going to talk about DJ Hahn later on, because this album, in fact, over the first two albums, he is the absolute MVP. He adds little garnishings here and there. We'll probably talk about it in the next one because that's Hit the Floor, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. But he's an amazing musical chef. But yeah, definitely, like nothing is, it can be overwhelming, but nothing's too overwhelming. Like with the cymbals, the hi-hats, like the higher end stuff, they just rounded it enough. It's almost like it's almost like walking into a room just of music, right? And it's just, you can just walk around and just look at everything and like live in it for a bit and just
it's like an aquarium of music.
Yeah, I understand what's going on. Yeah, like underneath the floor, you can see, drums are happening. Cool. And in the middle, you're like, there's nice bass and that. And you got the guitars and everything, like, and the vocals
guitars are a bit higher up.
Yeah,
right? They're kind of washing over you on the top half. The drums are the supporting foundation. Yeah, 100%. I get that. But this song, this was an example of what I do and don't really vibe with on this album, because this really showcased the kind of loving, like Chester's voice when he comes in and screaming and all the sounds coalesce, like coming together. But then it really shows me like kind of what I wasn't vibing with as much, like in contrast when Mike's parts would come on. Even though I appreciated the lyrics and I appreciated the how it tied into the song and everything, it's just the other aesthetic parts or sonically aesthetic parts I just wasn't vibing with. This is when I wrote down I actually wrote down it kind of dates the music back to like the 2000s, and I know this was in the early 2000s, like that song, and I just wrote 10% pleasure, 30% pain or some shit like that. Yuck. I actually just wrote yuck. Okay, and then I wrote Mike is cool though. I had no like ill will towards him. Not like, oh, get this fucking trash guy out of here, man.
Yeah.
It was like, no, he fits. It's things that he can't really control, and I won't necessarily control about my taste either. So, you know, it is what it is, man. I can appreciate it still. Hit the Floor. The lyrics are cool. I like the vibe of this song. The thing is, I think it's a combination of this genre of music and maybe the whole thing with Mike and whatever, is that the replay value doesn't necessarily come up for me. So I might go back to certain parts of songs because I'll be like, or if I'm like going to show my brother like, because he's also a musician, he'll be like, yo, you know, he'll know who Linkin Park is, but he's probably never listened to them properly. But I'll probably be like, look, get a good pair of headphones, listen to this part, go to this time stamp or whatever.
Yeah.
Listen to this part. And most of it will be like Chester's parts. And because he gets the whole mixing thing and the whole audio sonics thing. So he would probably appreciate what I'm talking about, what we just literally explained, the whole walking into a room of music and where everything's placed and how it's smooth and not too much, but whatever. So there'll be replay value in that sense. But I think unless I just tried it again at some point, it might just hit because, like I said, I got used to Atmosphere after a while, although they're on mainly hip hop type beats. So maybe that's why. Slug's got a similar thing with his vocal tone and all that kind of thing, but there's something slightly different about him. So I don't know, maybe it'll take a bit of time, but I thought this song was cool. Actually, one thing I really, really wasn't gelling with Mike, that whispering thing that he does at some point in the song.
No.
I
feel like things you say. What goes up must has got to fall.
At that point, I was like, okay, no. If I was in the studio,
leave that to Chester.
Yeah. Leave that to someone else. Yeah, that part, no, not at all. Please, I was like, nah. I absolutely do not like that at all.
Well, the thing is, I've always liked the lyrics when he says, "So many people like me walk on eggshells all day long. All I want is to feel like I'm not. All I want is to feel like I'm not stepped on," or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I've always liked that lyric because I'm like, yeah, actually, I've always been really considerate of people's feelings. I'm sick of it. And then you get to like deep adulthood, and you're like, "Fuck the people." Like, I've got kids to care for,
and the people. Yeah,
everybody. I don't care. I need to keep these two little boys safe. I need to keep my wife safe. Everybody else, but like, no. It's just something. But it's that kind of honesty again that Mike is talking about, where he's just like actually talking about being a humbly mannered human being.
Yeah,
in amongst a world full of dickheads, and. I just find that it's cool because a lot of people feel that way. Like, why am I going to be nice to people? Because I'll just get shat on, or no one's going to appreciate it. And that's what we're witnessing. Oh, excuse me. That's what we're witnessing now. Just as a quick aside, I found a YouTube channel recently. It's called Cart Narcs. And what the premise is, right, is that they go around like to shopping centers in America. And they will like flag down people and be like, "Hey, man, like you've gone in the shop, you've got the shopping trolley outside, but you haven't put it in the shopping trolley bay. Like that's really dangerous. Yeah. People can ding their cars. You've left it in the disabled parking space. Like what you're doing, like you can't do that to people." And basically, they're flagging people's bad manners. That and people are arguing. In the time that they're arguing with these people, they could have just wheeled back their cart and been like, "Yeah, my bad, actually, that was lazy." But they're like, "Oh, you're getting in my face." Well, there are people paid to do this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, actually, what we're witnessing in this day and age might be the death of civility, because people would rather argue with you that you are harassing them when you're actually calling them to be responsible for their actions. Like, do you litter in the street, even though we got people, street sweepers and garbage men? No. Do we litter in the streets? Like, because I don't. So
no, I don't either. I can't stand it when I see fucking like McDonald's cups and like just on the pavement and stuff. I'm just like, why can't you just hold it and
there's
wait?
There's a bin over there.
A bin, yeah. Or it's worse when you can actually see a bin.
Dude, outside my house every 100 meters.
Mate, outside my house, sometimes I see it and I see it like get blown across, and it's really annoying because sometimes it looks like it's like next to our car. So I'm thinking, people are going to think that we do that. And it's like, but we haven't even bought any of this stuff. So someone has just chucked it and left it on the road, and it's blown away. And some of it will go in front of this house, that house. There's bins in front of every house. Of course there is, like everywhere.
Oh, dude, why? I do recommend that you watch it. It is. I will. It is something special because people in this day and age, boy. But I think
it shows. Yeah.
But I think that this song kind of lends itself to that. Like, it's kind of like, fine, you've kind of stepped on me one too many times.
Yeah.
Fucking sick of you lot. Like, what goes up will surely fall and hit the floor. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
I think you made a good point about how people would rather argue than actually take accountability for certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it with I saw a TikTok the other day about, oh, didn't it hurt when um I can't remember how they did it. I think they acted it out or they just wrote it down, which was, oh, when you're telling a story to your friends or a group of people, and then they either just interrupt or clearly just don't pay attention, like they start turning and looking around or pulling their phones out, and you have to then decide whether to stick with your story and just keep saying it,
Yeah.
or fade your voice away, or be the person who sits there and says, okay, well, if you're not interested, then fine. Because
I take option 3. I always
I'm sure
do
you
that.
would. Yeah, I can imagine you would do that, because sometimes I feel like doing that as well. And I'm just like, what? Some people legit will do that. Like they'll listen to you and then not reply.
Yeah.
Like just be silent. I have no time for that shit anymore.
Oh, bro.
And
I call people out on that shit all the like, don't be fucking rude.
Power
Like,
play.
fuck this, why am I here?
Rude.
I'm out.
It's 100% rude. And I don't know if people do it subconsciously, do it consciously, as in like, oh, it gives them, it's a power play. So if I don't reply, the power's in my hands because I didn't find it worthy of replying to. Like, you're a fucking dickhead if you do that. Or if it's they just don't have the empathy to think, well, this person has just tried to tell me something, and actually they care enough to tell me something and actually just like talk to me about something, and I'm just going to sit there and just be like, oh, what? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking of something. I mean, yeah, I understand people zone out in conversations if they're too long, like if they're very long, or sometimes you might be thinking of other things because of something else going on in your situations where people legit just violate by like literally looking around while you're talking to them, or pulling their phone out while you talk to them.
Yeah.
And just not replying to you. Like they'll look at you and then just go, or they'll when people interrupt and just start talking about some other shit, and then you're like, okay, yeah, and you kind of, your story fades out, and then it's not worth telling anymore.
No, it's not. You've lost the spark.
Moment's gone. Yeah, the moment's gone. I mean, my brothers, when my parents were visiting this time around, like my brothers went in because they have a knack for doing that. They will, and they don't understand what's wrong. That's the problem, is that they will start talking about something that's just so irrelevant.
Yeah.
So, they'll start being like, I'll tell them, my brother will be talking about something, and then my dad will randomly at the restaurant, or my mum even, just be like, to another person on the table, oh, do you want some more of this? Or do you want some more of that? It's like, is that necessary right now? Is that necessary right now? Or, oh, look at that. Look at the color on that thing. Is that necessary? Why did you bring that up now? You're supposed to be listening to him talk, like his story. And then they'll be like, no, continue. Say the funny story or the joke. And it's like, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Because if someone's mentioned something about lemon juice, and then you're like, oh yeah, my friend, he did this stupid thing once where this and this happened, and yeah, he thought it was lemon juice, but it wasn't, and this happened to him. Out of context, it sounds like a really lame, like dead story. In the moment, it's just a funny thing to add on to the already existing conversation. People don't want to take the accountability though, so they'll reply back, like you said, like with the YouTube channel you were talking about. People would rather, instead of just saying, actually, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have just listened. They'll be like, no, it's just that you just talk too much, bro. Or oh, no, it's just, I just can't pay attention. I can't change how I am. It's like, yes, you can, you dickhead. But
yeah,
like,
dude, do you know what though? Like, it's not when people look away and stuff when you're talking to them. I actually don't think that it's like a lack of empathy a lot of the time or anything. It speaks to a wider problem of actually our attention spans are goldfish level. I think that's a factor too, because people are like, I find it with myself. Like even today, I was looking after my boy today. I took a day off work. The youngest one, he's 12 weeks old now. Can you believe it?
Wow.
But I remember I was sitting with him, and I was trying to put him to sleep on one of the various failed attempts today, and I remember I was just sitting there and I was like, I've left my phone. I was upstairs. So I've left my phone downstairs. I've got no screens in front of me. When is the last time I've had 4 hours in a day where I haven't looked at a screen?
Yeah.
And
no, it's true.
That plays a part too. But
No, I
You
get
know,
that. I get that. But it happens. It's been happening like a long time, and it's something I've observed only from being naturally kind of like quite shy when I was young and
sure.
growing up, and having to build the confidence to
Mm.
kind of be a little bit more extroverted in certain situations. So I'm not even talking about people doing this necessarily to me all the time. I'm even talking about when I see other people do it to other people.
I know.
And I'm just like, oh, this is so hard to watch. And then I'm looking at the other person like, how are you not noticing what you're doing? And then I kind of want to come in and just be like, oh, yeah, sorry, what were you saying? Because I can empathize, because I'm like, I've been there before. I know what it's like to really try and get out of your bubble and try and talk. And then
Yeah.
to have people just think that they're
Disregard
better
you.
than you. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and they're supposed to be like your friends or your family or something. And it's like, you understand the message, the signal this is sending, right? Um,
Yeah. You understand the optics of this. Like, to be
yeah.
honest, mate, I've gotten so good at just cutting shit off that I don't need. Like
Right.
over
Yeah.
the years, I've just shed so much shit. Like, so for example, you're taking like all of the Insta stuff, everything on Instagram, everybody, it's KD. I I deleted the app and I haven't logged in
Good stuff.
because I'm like, it's trash. I
Yeah,
don't
Instagram is trash,
I
man.
don't need
Absolute
I don't
trash.
need it in my life. And
No.
like my personal Twitter, I've taken like off my phone. I've only got the K&D exchange now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Because like, I'm like, actually,
Pure business.
I don't care. I don't care. I haven't had Facebook since 2015. So it's
Yeah.
just you got to. I think we got to learn to switch off, guys, and like also having toxic people in our lives. Like it's help.
Hmm.
Like doing this with the apps is one thing, but actually doing this with people that like I'm on a group with like a bunch of like school friends, for example, and like
Sure.
I barely say anything on that group, and I'm like, are we really? Because especially this year, I was like, every year everyone's like, happy birthday this guy, happy birthday that guy, happy birthday that guy. I haven't had a happy birthday in about 4 years on that group, right? So I'm not saying
Shit.
that I'm that precious about it, but this year I was like, actually, I might just, why the
Just cut
fuck
it
am
off.
I here? Like I don't say
Yeah.
anything, and I was just like, bye. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I know
No
what you
one's
mean, man.
messaged, no one
Yeah.
said
I know what you mean.
anything. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like I've got my friends who are in my phone.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
all I need. I don't need the validation of other people. Like,
Yeah. Why would you need to chase that when there's people who are around you who will actually not even try and validate you? They just do by
exactly,
being your friends,
exactly.
They show that they want to be around you.
That's it.
Um, like I've had it with like old school friends that I've just unfollowed because I realized they didn't follow me back. Now I give them, some of them, the benefit of the doubt that they might not recognize me or that they might not recognize the name I go under. But some of
Yeah,
them like are on private accounts. So when you follow them, they've accepted my follow request, but then not followed back. So it's like, okay, did you not even have a look at my profile? Or did you have a look at my profile and think,
it's a numbers
oh, I
game,
know
mate.
him. I'll accept him. Yeah. I'm not going to follow back though. That's dickhead behavior, man.
Yeah,
Literally
yeah,
dickhead. I don't care how and if you're a girl, I don't care how fit you are, or you were back, or you thought you were back in the day. Like, I'm not. I realize that I'm like, I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? Because I'll have some friends who will be like, oh man, but she's so piff though. She's so. I'm like, yeah, but
what good
what?
is
So
that
I'm.
doing you? Are you
Yeah, so
like,
what?
are
So I
you
can
with
just see
her?
her come up. Yeah, exactly. So what? Can I just see her come up on my timeline? I
Yeah,
don't really give a shit. Like, okay, cool, bye. And then there's guys that, might have been friendly back in the day, but then they don't reciprocate now. And
yeah.
it feels like, oh, maybe it was just a clout thing. Maybe it was just because we are in the same vicinity type thing. So they were just
Or maybe
humoring
it
me
was
the whole
just,
time.
we were mates at a time.
And it could
Because
be that too. Yeah,
that's
you were
what it
just mates
is.
at a time. Yeah,
Like
there's no need to
we were
force it.
mates when it needed to be, and then now we're not anymore. Listen, I got barely any sentiments when it comes to, like, I got my true, like my day
Yeah,
ones,
yeah,
and that I
yeah.
got my true
100%.
friends. But
Yeah, that's what you
but yeah,
really need.
everybody else, I don't. I just genuinely don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
and it's something that I think, like, and it's quite funny that we're talking about this because I get like this sort of feeling with this band. Like, they really feel, there are
Right.
six of them. There's a lot of them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, of course. If you count all the like instrumentalists and stuff,
yeah.
I'm
Two
obviously
singers,
I'm
drummer, bassist, guitarist,
okay. That makes sense.
DJ Han or Mr. Han. But
Missed the heart.
but yeah, like they would speak about this, like, back in the day, they were just like, yeah, we are, like, we're friends, we're a family. Like, it's almost like, you know what I mean? Like, they recognize what they had was unbelievably special, but they would ride or die for each other. And especially now, like, when you see, like, Mike does quite a lot of, like, he does like a lot of live shows, like, on YouTube and stuff. Like, just he'll be like, all right, okay, guys, like, today I'm gonna create like 5 or 6 beats. I'm gonna remix one of our old beats or whatever, and he'll sit there. He'll talk about his process and all of that stuff. And like, he'll, people will ask him like about like stories or whatever, and he'll share. And it was very much like, you could tell that there was that kind of level of bond, that kind of bond that you don't really have with that many people in life. It was cool to just kind of, you can kind of hear it in there.
Yeah, for sure.
In the songs, in the sense that, like,
that's
sort of geared towards Chester. Huh?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's because Zoom cut out. But yeah, no, I was saying that's understandable. Yeah. Continue.
Cool. Yeah, I was just saying that the band is like kind of geared towards Chester, in the sense that, like, I think Chester was the emotional center of the band, and they kind of huddled around him, was like, right, okay, cool, we'll build this around you. And Mike, obviously, like, I get the impression that he's like quite an empath. He can kind of take on somebody else's kind of like traumas and then write vicariously. Like, I think he's more talented than we think, like, especially with some of the music that we got coming up.
I get that.
Because Mike is so simple on piano, but it's mwah. But anyway, we'll get to it. Anyway, right, next song.
Oh, he's a piano player as well.
Pianos and guitar, mate.
Is he a piano player? What, Mike Shinoda? Oh, mad. Okay.
Plays piano, plays guitar. Right. So in Somewhere I Belong, he plays guitar. In Easier to Run, he plays the piano. And in From the Inside, he plays the piano. Oh, and Numb, he also plays the piano.
Nice. Okay. The image I'm building of him in my head is appreciating as time goes on.
No, he's a musical. He's a musical dom.
Cool. But yeah, with that song, apparently they tried to make like a heavy song with a hip hop bounce, and I can kind of just, I can see that. Do you know what I mean? Like, sorry, I can feel that.
Yeah.
I read that in the notes, and yeah, that's pretty cool. And I like at the end, the little cutting in breakdown, the guitars. Yeah, that was really cool. I really liked that bit there. Next song, Easier to Run. Yeah, I like those bit crush sounds again. And apparently what was cool about this is Chester wrote it freehand, so with no music. He wrote some of the verses or the lyrics, which as a musician myself, I hate doing that. I used to do that when I was first ever practicing, but I never do that, because then I can hear a beat in my head, but it will slow down, speed up at its own kind of, like, time is different inside your mind in the same way it is like when you dream and stuff,
Time doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right? It's the perception of it. So when you go inwards, the perception is all out of whack. And because when I hear the beat in my head, I don't actually know what tempo I'm really hearing it at. There's a disconnect between that and then trying to figure out the words and putting them in the pocket.
Yeah,
as soon as I hear the beat in real life and then I try and apply what I've just written, most of the time I'm like, this does not fit at all. And it's the worst thing when you've written something you think sounds so good, or at least looks so good.
It's in the bank, mate. It's in the bank, though. You'll be able to you'll be able to hear something later on in life and be like, I've got it.
Yeah, I've got something for this.
It's in the bank. Nothing's wasted, bro.
To be fair, though, it's just over the last few years, I've just never done it. I've purely only ever written when I hear something.
Oh, that's cool.
And I vibe with it, and I just write to that. I mean, I'll write random things in my head, but just ideas, but they're not two beats or anything like that. I'll have the rhythm or the flows or the words in place, but then writing the actual entire song, for me, comes music first, and then everything else.
Oh, fair enough.
Because I need that foundation, I need the music to kind of dictate where it's going to go. So it's interesting to hear from someone like Chester. When I hear about people who are musicians like Chester, I feel this link with them, because even though he's doing a completely different genre to me, there's this musician feeling I get of someone who's very caring about his craft,
Yeah.
and I can just relate to that on a certain level, even if we're doing completely different genres, completely different leagues, and completely different levels of whatever, of accomplishment, whatever. On a base level, it's the same way I can really feel this link with someone like Little Sims. And Kano, when I hear their interviews and stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like I care about it the same way. I do the same things and stuff like that. I have the similar habits, and yeah, it's interesting. Someone like Chester, I feel that same link of like, if we were both in a room, we could bond over our love of doing what we do individually, if that makes sense.
Kinship.
The kinship, that's the word. Yeah. He has that musician vibe of not just I'm a musician and I can play this and I can do that. It's I just love doing these things, and I will just try things, and I will just do what sounds good because I just enjoy the process. It doesn't have to be by the numbers, doesn't have to be by the book. I just have these ways of doing things which I've just built up over time, you know.
It matters to him.
Yeah, so him writing it freehand with no music, and then it just added to how impressive he is to me as a musician. Because when I heard it, I read that, and then I heard the song, and I was thinking, okay, I wonder how is it going to change how I hear it now? Because I'm going to be like, okay, I know this wasn't written to the music. It sounds like it was written to the music.
It does, doesn't it? It's seamless.
I was like, how? I was like, okay, that's cool.
But they'd written, so they wrote most of this album when they were on tour for their first album.
Okay.
They wrote a lot of this on the bus.
But I guess this kind of genre as well, you're not necessarily like with hip hop, you could be like on the tour bus and have headphones on and be listening to a bunch of beats someone sent you.
Yeah, man.
And write the songs. And I'm always interested in other genres of music when the songwriting process is a bit different, where it gets built up over time. So it might just be the guitarist and the song and the lyricist, or someone putting down the drum pattern and the guitar and the piano part, and then being like, okay, where do we take this from here? That kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It kind of builds itself up as it goes. Whereas a lot of hip hop stuff can come with the beat, and then you writing and creating the concept of the song and putting it together. And then either that's it, or adding then more to it. And then, because you might have a skeletal beat, which has the main foundation. So yeah, that's interesting to me, like that they would write the songs. And even when I was reading the notes, like about this creation of the songs, it was so interesting. Like, oh yeah, so they had to get into the studio and do this, and they had to do it in this many takes because they're probably recording it all at the same time. They're not just doing the music and then he's doing over the top. And one of the songs, Chester was ill. It was like the last week of recording, so he had to actually dub his lyrics over the top of the music at another time, and they had to make sure that they got it right, otherwise they would have ran out of time and budget. And it was like they were right down to the album being pressed and released, but he just knocked out the park. And that's just so interesting because it's so different, such a different creation process to hip hop music or electronic music or whatever other music. You know, each artist and each genre has its own kind of process to things, and one's not necessarily better than the other. It's just different. Yeah, because that's the nature of the music itself.
Do you know what? It's why I love listening to like bands sort of demos of their songs, because I've got loads and loads of like demos of stuff that I've done, and like music and whatever, like all rough recordings,
right?
And so I'm in love with hearing bands, like what was the root of the idea to the pressed final product, and like what layers have you added and stuff like that. And there was something so pure about, like, there was a bunch of demos released for like Slipknot's third album, and just listening to them, like minus vocals, it was like literally drums, bass, and guitars, and it was just so raw. And there's this raw energy that you get from those kind of recordings, and like, it can't be replicated. You lose that when you polish it and master it.
100%.
But there is just something about like live playing that just, and so I'm in love with listening to the imperfect stuff. Yeah, I love it. Because even if it's rough, doesn't matter. It's the intention. And yeah, man.
If it ain't rough, it ain't right. I think that's a CL Smooth.
That's I used to say that all the time. It ain't rough, it ain't right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because maybe that's why hip hop is such a pull for me, because to me it's like there's no real. I mean, sometimes we have demos which are basically just the unmixed version of the song.
Mm.
That's what it feels like, or the scratch version where we've done one take just to see how it sounds, and we've just left it there so we don't forget the bars or just see how it sounds. But a lot of the time, it's like I write to the beat in the studio. You know, you might write to the beat in the studio, and it's like, all right, let me lay this down, and then you lay it down, and that is your take. You know what I mean? So it's like straight off the bat, the raw energy is there from the jump.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then so there's no like trying to replicate the original feeling necessarily. There's a song on Little Simz's album Grey Area called Boss, I think, and her vocals sound really distorted and kind of as if they're through like one of those live microphones, and it's because she recorded the demo of it through one of those microphones, and just the guy doing the bass and the drums, and they just laid down the scratch version. When they tried to emulate it, when they actually went to the studio, because Little Simz is one of those artists who actually does take from that aspect, that genre of songwriting, where it's like laying down demos and ideas and working with a band and then building it up and stuff, which is why her music sounds different. And, you know, I'd love to kind of do that at some point. But she kept her scratch vocals on that song because she couldn't emulate the raw intensity or feeling. Like that's not distortion that's added later. That's just as it is. That's as it is. That's just her demo scratch recording, and it just sounded so. It suits the song so well. But it's just so interesting. Apparently, this had a complex drum pattern. Don't know if that's something that you can like hear. Apparently, it was like there's a annotation on Genius where one of the guys was saying, the guy playing the drums, he made this really complex drum pattern sound so easy. Looks so
do you know
easy.
What? Yeah, it's like a 3/4 beat. Like it's I'm just playing it in my head.
Yeah.
And
when I was listening to it, I was trying to hear like, okay,
it's the snare.
Like,
it comes in on like the it is slightly offbeat. I can't think of the exact like terminology, but it is because it is really seamless. It's really different. Like the thing that I love more about the song is the atmosphere, though. Is when is the violin sort of come in when Mike's saying, if I could change, I would. Take back the pain, I would. Retrace every wrong move that I made, I would. Like, man, I don't know how. I just get sucked into that. Like every time I hear it, I just think, oh, it's amazing. And then obviously Chester just steals the show on it. You know, he's fantastic. But the drum beat is weird. Now that I'm thinking about it, I just never thought about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I find so interesting when I hear people say stuff like that. So when they say like, "The Way You Make Me Feel" by MJ has these shuffling drums that are really hard to play in real life, and I'm thinking, to me, I've just heard the song and I think, oh, it sounds really good. But when I watched the documentary, it was like, we had to get someone to play the drums and then dub over the top of it, playing the other rhythm to give it that shuffling sound, because it's really difficult to play that live or to emulate it live. And I think because his mom said that he should make a song with that kind of shuffling beat, so they did that. But to get the kind of right sound, they had to do a bit of like over dubbing and taking like double takes and stuff. Yeah, literally. And it's weird. It's so interesting because it's like that's not something I would know unless someone told me. To me, I just hear that and think that sounds really cool. I just like the whole song how it sounds. When someone breaks that down, I'm like, oh, that's sick. I didn't even know that was a thing that you had to actually work around it to try and get to that sound. I think that's just really cool. Like musicians, like people sitting in the studio thinking there's something we want to reach. There's a sound we want to create. We can't just sit here and play it. We actually need to figure out a way to
engineer it.
Yeah. There's something so kind of homemade and grassroots and just cool about that. So human about that. Like trying to create the sound of it. And then the listener doesn't even realize. They just think, oh, that sounds sick.
Yeah, we take it for all that hard work, and it's just like dumb idiots like me. And it's like, it's a good song, though.
It's a cool song. Yeah, it's all right. I like it. It's
the way you make me feel lovely.
Yeah, I love that song. Yeah, even my grandma loves that song. But yeah, Faint. Why have I heard this before? And I think
it was massively famous. It was, I think, probably apart from Numb, the biggest song that they released from this song album.
No wonder, yeah. Um, I think it was it also on the Mashup album with Jay-Z?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was.
Maybe I heard that version back then as well. I like the musicality of it. Screaming, like, those kind of vocals, they're not always my thing,
Yeah,
but sometimes it works really nicely. And this one, I wasn't feeling it as much. Usually I really like kind of Chester's vocals. And I mean, I've been singing his praises the whole time, but
yep.
I don't know if it's this song, if it's just, it takes me back to that time and it just feels a bit kind of, but then again, that's not true because when we get to Numb, it's not going to be the same critique. So, and that was arguably much bigger at least in my memory. This song didn't really do it 100% for me. Figure '09. Is this about
just one sec?
Yeah, go on.
Faint was never one of my favorites on this album either.
Oh, really? You
Don't
didn't
know
like
what
that much either. Okay.
I was like, yeah, skip.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't really get too much from it, to be fair. It sounds like it's like the hip hop equivalent of them putting a really accessible mainstream song in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of.
It was the label going, hey, remember, you're Linkin Park. Be nice to them white people.
Oh, man.
Don't forget who you are.
I'm sorry to my white listeners. Like,
sorry.
I'm sure everyone who's listening who falls under that category knows what exactly we're referring to. It's, we don't always have to say not all white people, but that kind of thing. We don't need to do,
Yeah, I know. No, sorry. Do you know what it is? Like I've watched Dave Chappelle and
oh, his white voice is impeccable.
Oh my goodness, Eddie Murphy. Like for most of my adult life, and they're like, just
those guys,
especially Eddie Murphy, was just like, well, that Michael's just a special kind of guy.
Oh yeah, that Michael's a special kind of guy, ain't he? When he's like, that's why they don't mind that he's taking who was it?
Brooke Shields
to
the Oscars or something.
Yeah. It's like, white people love Michael so much. He went to Brooke Shields and they didn't care.
Oh man,
Eddie Murphy, what a guy.
He was a killer. But anyway, yeah. Figure point nine.
Figure point nine. It's quite a heavy song, like lyrically and musically. Is it like, I didn't know if it was about like an abusive relationship, not even like a romantic one, just even any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship or something, or because he's like, oh, you're a part of me still, and it's hard I can't get rid of you, or can't get rid of it, or like how, like, because of what they keep going, like what they were going through. And even afterwards, it's like it's still stuck with me. And I was like, it feels like it can be interpreted as an abusive relationship in all across the spectrum, whether it's like a romantic one or like a really bad, like kind of familial one or something. It's like you could really kind of fill in your own gaps with that. I didn't know if there was any backstory to it.
I've got no idea. I always took it as a relationship with a girl because, like, especially when he says, I remember when it started happening, I'd see you in every thought and I had, and then the thoughts slowly found words attached to them. And then, like, I knew as they escaped away, I was committing myself to him, and every day I regret saying those things. But now I see that I took what I hated and made it a part of me. Like, I love the way that he says, I regret saying those things. Some shit went down. Yeah. And I absolutely believe him. I don't know. Like, could it be, another slight dig at the label? I get the impression that it's about a girl, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got. And then I thought, I wonder if it, maybe, they might have made it a bit more generic on purpose to kind of give it the,
to mask the meaning and give it the accessibility.
The accessibility, exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
The riff, though, I think is flipping genius. I don't know why I love this riff so much of the guitar. It's just because it
fits the song, right? From what I remember.
Because it kind of starts off as bouncy, and then the guitarist joins the bounce, right. And it's like bam 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 bam, and it's just this cool like effect that he's got over it. It's just it's amazing. I absolutely love it. But then it goes into the typical middle eight, and I'm like, no, right. give me the verses again. Like that's what gets me in this song, especially.
Sure. Breaking the Habit, another heavy song. And apparently Chester wasn't actually able to perform this for a long time because he felt like it really closely resembled what he was going through in his life. Which is kind of sad. And it really lyrically like elucidates that perfect example of the endless cycle that people get caught up in when it comes to mental health issues, especially with things like depression. Like you have this thing called a hot cross bun model, where you have your thoughts, which then lead to your emotions, which then lead to physical sensations, which then leads to behaviors, which then leads back to the thoughts. So it keeps going round. So you have a bad thought or a thought that's really bothering you, causes an emotion that, is distressing for you, like sadness or anger or frustration, whatever, or a combination. Those lead to physical sensations such as, you close up a little bit, or you feel low energy, or you don't feel like you want to do anything. That then leads to certain behaviors. So you stop going out the house, you stop engaging with your friends, or you don't eat as much or whatever, right? Which then leads back into more thoughts of, man, I haven't left the house and I haven't spoken to any of my friends. What are they doing? They probably forgot about me, and I'm not doing this. I'm not being productive, which then leads to more emotion. It's just continuous, right? Yep. And they really elucidated that nicely in the lyrics to this song. Just what's the song called again? Breaking the Habit. I mean, that kind of fits, right? And that's a big thing that people have to learn sometimes when they're going through these issues, is breaking out of the safety behaviors, such as like, when you, especially for anxiety, because I know you said that you it's not something you deal with as much, but so for someone like me, when I have anxiety, sometimes it's suddenly my mind gears towards doing comfortable things because it's scared of doing things that I might normally be okay with. So like driving to the shops because there might be loads of people there, and that could become a sensory overload. What I really should do is not avoid that. I should just go anyway to prove to my brain that nothing bad is going to happen. Because once you go and do it, you break out of the cycle that he's talking about. Yeah. So you literally break your habit, because if I just stayed at home, didn't go and do it, it would just keep reinforcing the fear. Unless I naturally snap out of the anxiety through other means. But this is something I have. I mean, I had it with flight anxiety as well. If I hadn't stepped on the plane and gone through that really hard moment when my flight anxiety was at its peak, and I actually got on the plane and just went through it and just was like, well, it's too late now. The plane's literally about to take off and get in the air. As soon as it got in the air, it was like, oh, this is okay. And then suddenly it became easier and easier every single year that I would go somewhere. It just, to the point that I went on a 15-hour flight to Bali. Just 2 separate flights. Yeah. Both long ass fucking flights. And the first one was 6 hours. The second one was 9 hours. That's a whole flight to LA. That was the second half of the trip. I can't believe to this day I did that. You know what I mean? Comfortably. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that a few years ago. If I didn't get on the plane a few years ago, I would never have broke, or at least I would have found it much harder to break that cycle that he's talking about. So that song really hit in a particular way, because not necessarily about what he's talking about, but the overall theme, the overall message. And I think everything about it was just kind of heavy in a good way.
Emotionally heavy, yeah.
Yeah, it all fit nicely. You really believed it.
Yeah, I think this song was completely unique in the Linkin Park mythos. At this point that I heard it, I was like, never had anything like it before. Right, and it took me many years. I was like, nah, I don't know if I like it. But it took me many years to really appreciate the song, and especially in the wake of his death, I just sort of looked back on like a lot of songs, and I was like, oh my goodness, he was basically telling us.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I know that we didn't bring it up when we did the Audio Slave episode, but like Chris Cornell killed himself as well, like the same year Chester did, even before Chester, a couple of months before, right?
Okay.
And people thought that Chester was really heartbroken about that, and that was one of the main things apparently that might have tipped him over the edge.
Oh wow.
The thing is, like, there is a concert recording of those two singing Crawling, and I was never really that much of a I didn't really ever like that song, never really did. Loads of people loved it because they got it and whatever, but um you listen to those two sing it and you're like, oh,
Right.
help those men. Like,
Yeah.
it's truly, it's haunting, it's so sad. It's like, you know, it was there in plain sight. And I just wish that he took comfort in, like, his mates wouldn't have wanted him to kill himself at all. Like, they would have wanted him to live. Like, I just wish that he'd been able to take comfort. Chester had 2 kids, a wife and 2 kids, bro. Like, I look at my boys and I'm like, the only way I'm getting carried out of this life is like either on my shield or fucking degenerative cancer or something. Like,
right, yeah.
I am not tapping out myself. I can't.
Yeah.
But like, he would have thought that as a father, I don't want to leave these guys. But how much pain must he have been in? Oh, it's heartbreaking. And he was a hero to so many people.
Yeah. And he probably couldn't see that because he
couldn't.
The mental filter wouldn't have let him. Right.
He's one of my heroes. I flipping
right.
When he passed away, and when my stepdad said to me, he went, "Oh, Dave." I went, "Yeah," and he went, "Your guy." I went, "I know," and he went, "Oh, I know he's your boy. Like, I'm really sorry to hear that. He seemed like a really nice guy." I was like, "Hang on a minute, you hated their music back in the day." Like, I remember having to say to him that it's like I used to crank up the first album, and then like he'd be like, "Why are you listening to this music?" So I turn it down, and I'd be like, "Look, I need to do my homework from like 6th form or whatever. Like, leave me to my white people music now."
Yeah.
Just go away.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Oh man. And I think this time as well, like 2003, is weird to think this kind of stuff wasn't. I don't remember this kind of stuff being talked to. I mean, how old would I have been? I would have been 9 years old.
Bro, it was. There were bands that spoke about it. Yeah. No,
I mean, like, in the way now, I can't escape seeing things about mental health.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, pardon me.
Yeah. It's been around in music, obviously, but I mean, in terms of it being taken seriously, not even taken seriously, but understood. Like, I even realize how much now we still don't, as a society, understand. Like, there's people out there that think that if you have mental health issues, or if you're bipolar or whatever, that you're a threat to society or a threat to people. You know, it's like, no, you're not. Do you even actually know what bipolar means? It just means doesn't mean what you think it means.
I actually knew somebody who was bipolar, and
I think I knew someone who was bipolar as well.
Well, she was taking like meds for it and stuff, and I didn't. I still don't understand the breadth of it, but it's a hard. That's a hard one to be around. That's tough, and it must be a hard thing to live through as well, to have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
like, I think when people hear words like neurosis, psychosis, psychotic episode, all that kind of stuff,
negative connotations.
Yeah, because you hear the word psycho, and you have a lot of therapists or psychologists don't even like the word insanity or insane, because it's like, it's not really reflective of what people are actually going through. They are very sane. They're very, like the Joker movie. I've watched like YouTube breakdowns of psychologists or mental health experts decoding that movie or breaking down certain scenes and saying, this guy's not psychotic. He's something else. He's actually exhibiting signs of this, that he knows what's going on around him. He's very fully aware of what's happening, and he has a clear intention of what he's trying to do. But he's suffering from this and this and this, which is informing his decisions. Do you know what I mean? He's not actually detached from reality.
Let's make the Joker a notorious killer. Let's make him let's sympathize with him. Oh, poor guy. No, you're a murderer, you motherfucker. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That film was that film was frightening.
You're talking about the solo Joker one?
Yeah, right? With Joaquin.
Joaquin, yeah.
The bit where the thing that always gets me, and like, I know that it's I know that it's basically a film about the failure of society on an individual that all he needs is help.
100%. Yeah,
Because
literally,
even is it the group that he attends, like or he's got like
they
a
cut their
carer, a key
funding.
worker, they can't
Yeah,
even fund it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
the person who cares about him the most, that's probably got his back, can't be there anymore. So it's a
Mhm.
failure of the system, right?
Yeah,
And it's just so the Joker's whole MO though is like modus operandi or method of operation is one bad day can make you be like me. That's how he is in the comics, right? One bad day, that's
right.
all it takes.
Sure.
But with this movie, it was kind of like, well, actually, like one bad year can kind of break
Yeah,
you down to a point. But the thing
sure.
is, I'm just gonna. This is off piste, right? Just testament to Joaquin Phoenix's acting. You know the bit where he's just like, "Okay, Murray," and he shoots him in the head.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Do you know, like he shakes his leg like after that, and he's like all like jittery and smiley and just kind of. So
yeah.
that's like one of his first kills. Apparently, like killers get an adrenaline rush, and they act
That's
like that.
weird.
And I was like,
He must have
oh,
studied that,
I
surely.
could not believe it because I was like, why is he kind of being like that? And he's like basking in that
Yeah,
glow of.
yeah,
I was like, this is this is
yeah,
next level acting. I've never
yeah,
seen
yeah,
anything like it.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean, yeah. That's the thing, right? It's there's so many different factors that go into it. It's not as just a simple, um, oh, Joker, he's a bad guy, so therefore he just likes killing people. Do you know what I mean? That movie kind of, I mean, I don't know what his actual origins are, but in that movie in particular, they kind of showed a much more rounded kind of, like you said, the whole he's continuously put down, and then the system fails him as well,
yeah.
and then
And people
everyone
fail
else is
him.
failing. People
Yeah.
fail him. His mum fails him. Um, all that sort of stuff. And then the person he idolizes, so Murray, also is like taking the piss out of him, fails him too, and he tries to make us, to take a stand about it. And what is it that happens? He kills the people that are attacking him
On the
on the
train,
train,
yeah. He
but
shoots him,
because
doesn't
they're
he?
these like rich like private school students, there are actually people out there who are like, good, they deserve what they got because
That's it.
they've been terrorizing us all the time,
Yeah.
and they were attacking him. Do you know what I mean? Whereas everyone else is automatically siding with them. Now, I'm not saying that there's a clear cut answer in that, but it's not as black and white as you may think it is
Yeah.
necessarily. They take it to an extreme because it's the movie, right?
Well,
It's whatever.
I think even the Joker says like, if I killed like three nobodies, nobody would say anything about
Nobody
it. It's
would
only
say
because they're
anything. Yeah,
rich that you're
yeah.
making a thing out of it. Like it was a
And if they killed
critique
me
of
and left me on the
society.
street,
That
100%, he
was it.
says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you left me on the street, you would just walk past and wouldn't even care. But because it's these guys, suddenly you're up in arms, and we see that happen in our society all the time.
That even happened though, didn't it? Because he got beaten up and then just left in the street.
They just,
Like no
yeah,
one
they
helped
just
him.
left him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you literally watch that and you just think, why is no one helping him? And then you wonder sometimes, fuck, I wonder if I would even help him if I was walking past.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
I love to think of myself as somebody that I've got good moral fortitude and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But
wait a
what would I
minute
actually
though.
do?
Because we've got
Yeah.
mirror neurons in our brain, right? So if you see some heinous stuff happening on the street, somebody getting beaten up, you see a crowd around them that's just watching, you're more than likely going to watch because you've got mirror neurons in your brain.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, do what everybody else does. Like we all want to
Yeah.
belong. This is the thing.
Yeah. Because you're geared like that as a human being.
Exactly, to follow the pack.
Our ancestors wouldn't have survived if they were left by themselves. They would have to be part of a social group. So there's more going on here than people, people love to sit there and be like, oh, if I was doing, this happened to me, I would be doing this, doing that. It's like so easy to say when you're sitting on a fucking comfortable couch
Yeah.
watching a movie of it happening.
Yeah.
As opposed to in real life, it's completely different.
Have you ever done anything like that before? Like, have you ever stepped in or anything like that? Like, well, no. But I mean, if I saw it happening to me, I've seen it once before. What did you do then? Oh, I didn't do anything. Shut the fuck up. Then.
Yeah. I was on my way to work. I didn't have time. Okay, so one day you're just going to be out and about in the street with just all the free time in the world. Like, you know what?
Yeah,
this is a good hour break of doing nothing. Oh, someone's getting beaten up. Now is my time to go in and
now's my time to shine.
Stop them. Yeah. I mean, when I was in Leicester for my cousin's wedding, me and my girlfriend went out for dinner and we parked our car somewhere. We got out. There was this guy just beating up this other guy, like pushing him around in the street, punching him and like shouting at him and stuff. You did not catch me going over there and trying to break him up, because I don't know what this guy was capable of. And
right.
again, in my head, something was saying, this is not my beef. Like,
yeah, but you don't even know.
I don't know.
Carrying
I don't know
a
who's
knife.
in the wrong either. Yeah, exactly. I don't know who's in the wrong. I don't know what's going on. It's really not for me to really get involved with. And sometimes people do get involved and they end up getting hurt, and for no reason, nothing gets resolved out of it. So it's not as clear cut as you may think it is.
It never is.
Yeah. So, and I think people are starting to warm up to this in terms of mental health as a whole. But there's still so much that's not understood. Like, you know, I mean, we still throw around the words like psycho and whatever else, just so like
willy-nilly. It's a blanket lazy term.
Yeah, or you know, people say, "Oh, I'm so depressed about this." It's like, no, you ain't.
I won't. Do you know what? I've become very careful with my words as I've gotten a little bit longer in the tooth. Like, because you know what, you never know. Like, because I want my wife to know, or my kids to know exactly like what's going on, sort of thing. Like, I'm just a bit down about something. That's all. Like, I won't say depressed, because
no, depressed is something completely different. Because you can be sad about something, and know what you're sad about. Sometimes when you're depressed, sometimes you have these feelings of feeling down and disconnected and sad. You have no idea why though. It's just that's happening.
Yeah,
it's just you're feeling it, and then it makes it even worse because you're like, why though? Like, there's no fixable end. Like, there's nothing to fix. So therefore, why am I feeling like this? You know. Whereas if you're, it's the same with anxiety. You know, if you're really nervous for a test, once the test is done, the nerves go away, or the anxiety goes away. In a general case, if you have a disorder, that feeling of anxiety is there, but you have no idea what you're anxious about. But people do that. They throw around words like, "Oh yeah, it drives me insane, drives me psycho," or "This person's a psychopath for that," or "Oh, I'm just really depressed about the fact that it's raining outside," or it's like, "And I can't go outside." It's like, you ain't depressed.
Yeah, be better with your words, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just really bipolar when it comes to this decision making.
No, you ain't. Indecisive.
You're indecisive. You are not bipolar. Shut the fuck up. It really bothers me because it fully undermines people who go through genuine issues like that. Because someone might say, "Look, I'm depressed too. I mean, we all have problems." It's like, nah,
just be like me. I can get over my problems in a bit. Yeah, because you ain't got real problems though. So shut up. I'm kidding. Like, how big-headed is that to say to someone you ain't got real problems? But this is the thing, though. It ties in quite nicely because, like Chester Bennington, you're a rock star. You have a great voice. You can sing. You
people
can
will
scream,
say that.
You rap.
People will say that to him.
You are a hero to many, many people. Why are you depressed?
Yeah, people say that all the time.
And then you'd be like, but he's like, well, but you're not me. You haven't. You know, before Linkin Park, I don't know if he came from an abusive household, if he was all right, like what kind of stuff did he suffer? You know, was he, you know, when he was younger, was he considered like the ugly kid? Has he got image issues? Like, what the hell? You just don't know.
With you, no matter what. Even if you have money, you can't just pay
switch
your
it
brain
off
to just get rid of those memories and get rid of those feelings. It doesn't happen. Some people are so close. I get why some people think this, because maybe their worries do revolve around money. So they just think, you know, and then sometimes you can do that. You can do a blanket kind of applying it to everything. So the thing that you're worried about, you think that if everyone just had that, they'd be fine. But actually, that's not the case. And money is one of the biggest things. People think that, well, man, I could really do with £1 million right now. And you're complaining in your mansions and saying you're depressed. Like, bruv, someone can be in a mansion, a Ferrari, or in a little like hole in the ground and still be depressed, because your brain does not give a shit.
That is true, but I must admit, like, you know, I saw a tweet from Ari Lennox today, and she said something like this whole COVID thing is long, and I think the problems that come with it are also long. Something along those lines, right? So COVID's long, and what the anxiety is long, right? And someone, some hero, I don't know why you'd go and challenge this woman, but like some hero was like, "Oh yeah, well, doing what you love, you know, for your life and living in a mansion must be so difficult," or something like that. And I was like, facts, but she's a human being too. Like,
She's a human being at the end of the day. She
we
can
have
catch COVID and die.
yeah.
Like,
Well, we
just like you
have
can.
look, we there are things that we have in this world, right? That is worth more than all the money in the world, and that
Yeah.
is our brain, our time, and our happiness. And
Yeah.
when those things are being encroached upon, it doesn't matter how much money you got. And this is coming from a BAN broke ass. You know what I mean? I've been watching Dave Chappelle. Like the amount of times I've nearly dropped the N bomb today.
I could tell.
Oh my goodness, it's so bad. But anyway, yeah, you know what I mean? Like people need to stop worrying about wealth. They actually need to worry about mental wealth. And this is the thing, like, you know, Mike Shinoda is a big champion of it as well. He's just like, look, I don't see the problem. You know, when you're ill, you go and see a real doctor. If you're not being able to get out of bed, you should go and talk to somebody about it. Like, you should always talk. Don't do what Chester did and like not talk about it and say
people
that
didn't know about Chester, right? Like, as in, I mean, from his music, you could probably tell that he thought about stuff a lot and he had some issues, but not. I mean, was it clear to people where it was like, yo, that guy's really going through some shit?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think
you could say the same for a lot of rappers. Like, you could be like, when they talk about stuff, but then some people they might be like, nah, man, once I get it off my chest through my music, I'm good. It's just, I'm just talking. That's the only time I will talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah. You got different strokes for different folks. Like I think I'd be in more of that kind of mode. Like, I'm sort of, I don't mean to sound like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm amazing or better than anyone, but like, I've always had this thing. Like, I've always been decent at like bounce back ability. So whenever I get knocked down, I'm able to go like, well, it's happened, gather my stuff and, you know, gather myself and get back up, you know, get on the horse. Like, I've always been pretty decent at it. But then I think my sort of discernment has allowed me to kind of realize that not everybody can do that. And there are different ways to help with that. You know, I don't know if Chester, I don't know the ins and outs because it's something, bro, that I didn't look into too tough. I was so sad about it when it happened. I was so sad because I was like, like DJ Khaled, like death. He's got another one. Like Chris Cornell was a sad one because I loved his voice. And then when it was like Chester as well, I was like, not, but he had more music to make. Like,
right.
He was really good. Like, he was a good dude.
Yeah.
And he didn't break the habit.
That's the unfortunate part, right? He probably knew that he should have, but he doesn't mean he did. Doesn't mean he was able to or knew how to, you know? That's sad.
He was breaking the habit from the inside, which is the next song.
Which is a great segue, which is from the inside, yeah. And this is another example, this song, of, you know, to bring some positivity back to Chester's kind of persona, where I really love Chester's parts, not vibing as hard to Mike's parts.
I think they work so well. But yeah,
do you think? I think this one was another one like
you hate the whisper. That's what you hate.
Is that what it is? I can't remember on this song what it was.
Trying not to break, but I'm so tired of this defeat. Every time I try to make myself get back up on my feet.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Lying from you in this one really I felt the divide. And do you know why? Actually, do you know why I remember this song so hard? Right. Because when it ended, it dropped straight into the next song.
Yeah, nobody's listening.
Completely threw me off guard.
Yeah,
completely, to the point that I thought, is this part of the song?
Is this the same album?
Yeah. Even is this the same album? Because the sudden drop into that song was hard as fuck. Like, as soon as that started with that weird Japanese flute sample, and I didn't realize they were using sample stuff throughout the album. That was something that they were trying to do.
This is what I was going to tell. So this was my segue from earlier on. But DJ Harm.
Right. Yeah, because you can hear his scratches and stuff on certain songs. Is that him?
That? Man. So
sick, man. Yeah, sick.
In like Somewhere I Belong, all that weird like background sound, like that's all
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Then you've got from the track number 5, Hit the Floor. The
Yeah.
beginning is DJ Han, the do 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 do, and then
Oh,
every
okay.
other bar in the second part of each verse,
Hmm.
every other bar he does like this really cool little scratch,
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and it's
I
every
didn't
other
even notice
bar,
they were scratches because
and
even the
it's like
scratches were smooth.
it's so in sync with the music. Like
Yeah.
this is why I've gone back to the first album, and I'm like, the songs like there's a song on there called "By Myself." I used to
Right.
think it was a mid song. However, in the chorus, DJ Han, Mr. Han, adds he adds I think 4 notes.
Okay.
Love it. One of my favorite Linkin Park songs ever, right? So,
Sick.
and
Okay.
like in this album as well, like you can hear like Easier to Run. He's got like that kind of weird like drop effect at the start of the album, and then throughout, drop effect at the start of the song.
Sure.
Um, Faint, that weird violin-y kind of sound at the start.
Yeah.
Mr. Han again. And then from is it From the Inside that he's got? I'm trying to think of the song. Can't think of the effect in From the Inside. All I can remember is piano, like Mike's piano playing in it. I think it's stunning. But yeah, Nobody's Listening. An absolute
Nobody's
stunning
listening.
example of just how
Banger.
good he is.
Hmm. Yeah,
This
because I
song,
actually didn't mind him on there at all.
yeah.
It was sick.
Do you know why though? This song, I remember hearing it going, "You ripped off Ludacris." Southern Hospitality by Ludacris.
Okay, I'm gonna
It's
do an
that
A/B
kind of
comparison afterwards.
it's kind of that like I got a head full of anger held in my chest. So it's like that's I got a
Oh
head full of anger
yeah.
coming in the left ear. Like, held in my chest is coming in the right. It's that kind of volley of,
Oh,
you know what I
sure.
mean, like tennis
I
style
know.
rap. It
Sure, got you.
That was from Southern Hospitality on Ludacris's, I think, Word of Mouth album. That was
Okay.
the year prior. I was like, oh, it's a complete homage or a rip off.
Or rip off, yeah. See, the thing
Yeah,
is, if I went into this, if I just heard this song back then, I might have just thought, man, this guy's just because let's say if I was this age now, but back then, I probably actually maybe a bit younger than I am now. When I was a bit more on my kind of not purity, but like on my hip hop steez, you know what I mean? I would have been like,
get you.
bro, this guy's fucking because I probably would have been on like Ludacris, like when he dropped or whatever. And then if I heard
Yeah,
this, I would be
you
like,
would
who
have
the
been.
fuck are these guys? Who the fuck are these guys ripping him off? I wouldn't have seen it as homage. I would have seen it as like, fucking hell, this
I was
classic.
disgusted. It's like motherfucker, like appropriation. Like this
Yeah.
wasn't a favorite of mine for years because I was like, nah, I'll stay true to
Mate,
Ludacris.
hearing this fresh though, that Japanese flute sample, and actually hearing the whole album and liking the majority of it,
Yeah,
and then hearing this was like, okay, I knew it would come to something on Mike's end. I knew it. It felt like it had to. This
he
was like the
smashes it out of the
biggest.
park, mate.
This was the biggest curveball for me on this album, and I was like, I was not expecting this. I was not even waiting for anything like this.
Yeah,
But yeah, so good. And then Chester's parts, actually, funnily now, it's the other way around. His screaming kind of sound on here is kind of weird. Took a bit of time to adapt to, but I think it kind of fit. Like it's a bit more muted because of the chopped in guitars that come in, because even those sound chopped up like they're on an MPC. Like the
yeah,
whole song is like there's a hip hop filter on it. So anything that comes in goes
yeah.
through the hip hop filter. So when guitars come in, they get chopped, they get muted down a little bit. The screaming comes in, they're a bit more dry. It's not as wet. It works with the heavy drums and the Japanese flute sample that comes in. You know, it's not there's not this big wall of sound and big production. It's very raw, very hip hop. I really liked it. Really,
Banging.
really like that. But still big though. Still a big song, as in
Yeah.
big sounding. Um,
It's
Session.
spacious as well, though.
Oh, spacious as well. 100.
Really
I can
spacious.
see it still in my head. I can see where the kick snares and the
Yeah,
samples are placed.
yeah,
It's there. I could because my speakers are here, right? I'm in the apex here, so in the triangle, with the KRKs here, and this is how I try and listen to these albums that you give me, with the lyrics up through that, because then it's a point of focus and I can hear all the details coming through on here. And what's so good is that when some of these songs come on, because it gives you the raw detail of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So if the songs sound like trash and are mixed like trash, it will come through sounding like trash on these speakers. If the music is really well produced, it will come through. The detail will come through. So on this album, sounded great to listen to on these speakers. It's sick listening, just even sonically, amazing listening.
Wonderful.
So good listening to them on here. This song came on because I wasn't expecting it. Hearing that kind of raw hip hop sound and the sample, I could feel it. I could feel the kick in the center of my desk.
Yep.
The sample just a bit above it, floating in there. The snares cutting in, and then the guitars kind of coming in, and these little bits here. It was filled up the space so nicely. I can't explain this to people who don't just do this sort of shit, but that's just that's what I'm seeing, and that's how I'm feeling. This was sick.
This is all Mr. Hahn, by the way.
Is it? Oh, okay.
He's given on the first album. There's a song called "Cure for the Itch." It's all Mr. Hahn, and so he's given his time to shine. He's
nice.
I recommend you listen to that from the first album. It's again, I think the penultimate song. Track number 11, and I'll
check it out.
Yeah,
actually, speaking of something that you mentioned at the top of this episode, why did you give me this album and not the first one?
Because I think, as I said last week, I think this album is more musically expansive. I think the production is A star plus plus plus, and I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more room.
You wanted to compete with Drake in it. If you're reading this, it's too late. Because sonically, it was probably the best album you've heard throughout this whole. That's why you gave me this one, isn't it?
And I thought that the first album would have been the first album.
It doesn't live up to Drake's album, sonic wise.
You actually. Yeah, because it was made. Drake's album was made 6 years ago. This was made nearly 20 years ago. What are you on about? It's made it like.
I'm going to circle the fact that this actually. I'm going to circle back and say this sounds incredible, and the fact that it was made how many years? How
2003, like 18 years ago, 18 and a half years ago.
I could play this. Play that same. Like in all honesty, now, I was joking before. I could play that same Drake album I was referring to on these speakers as well, or in here. They both will sound amazing, and actually, that's more of a testament. Obviously, like you said, more of a testament to this group because this is from like 2003. Some albums from that early 2000s era does not hold up sonically.
Oh, bro, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It just does not.
You wouldn't have. Yeah, I mean, the first album sounds old now. However, it is still one of the most impressive albums, debut albums that I've ever heard. I've never been more smitten with an album than this one. This is what got me into. Well, no, I was already into rock beforehand because I.
Sure.
Actually, no. Yeah, I was because I was already into like Korn and shit. Like when I was about like 12.
Right.
But yeah,
did you ever hear that song Q-Tip and Korn? What was it? You ever hear that?
No, there was one with Ice Cube.
Yeah, there was one with Ice Cube. So there's one with Q-Tip as well.
Oh, I can't remember. Now, to be honest, I might be doing Korn Follow the Leader on my solo. Because, but the song with Ice Cube is utter dog shit. Like, it's
is it?
so shit. Like, I've never liked it. I don't think I've ever listened to it in its entirety, ever. Because it's just toilet.
End of Time. That's the name of it. I knew it. Yeah, it's on Q-Tip's album Amplified, which is a great album.
Meh. I don't think I've listened to that song.
Okay.
May have.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I was like, is that the same? Yeah, because I saw Korn. I've seen that they've done some hip hop collabs. That's probably
they do. Like, they've teamed up with like Skrillex, and they've done hip hop, and they've done. They were massive, but the reason I bring them up is because they get a lot of like hate and shit now, but they were sonically one of the most interesting rock bands I've ever listened to. But anyway, like Linkin Park were very much like in that same sort of time period as them. You know, Korn were kind of like at the crest of the wave, and Linkin Park were just starting out. It's kind of
Sure.
cool times, man, because we had like Limp
Sure.
Bizkit, System of a Down, Papa Roach when they were good, like
Mm.
so many other bands that I can't even think of at the moment. You know, Red Hot Chili Peppers knocking about. Just trying to
Yeah.
think.
So interesting that was the dominant form of music then, because I felt that when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? Like, I felt like
To be honest, hip hop was huge too, though, bro. Like,
it was huge.
massive.
It was definitely huge, but I remember it fighting for its kind of spot still back then. Like I remember even like 50 Cent was like the face of it during that time, and he was being clowned on by the average non-hip hop fan, or you know, whatever. It was like you had to really fight for the fact that you were a fan of his, and you had to add some credibility to the fact that you liked hip hop back then. It felt like unless you were into Eminem and
Man,
whatever
I
else.
don't know. Like it.
At least for my age, it felt like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, hip hop was massive. Jay-Z was in his pomp. Nas,
Oh yeah,
like,
it was still massive.
we
yeah,
had
but
we had great, but we had loads of people. Like 50 for me was small fry. I was still vibing with Tupac and stuff, like, you know.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like De La Soul were knocking about at that point. De La Soul. I was going to say Ja Rule. That's not who I was thinking of.
But
Scarface.
he was big around that time.
He
as
was
well,
massive.
Right?
Ja
Yeah.
Rule was like one of those that was like, oh, I'll collab on everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
wanted a piece of Ja Rule. Like,
Yeah.
even to the point when the World Trade Center like fell down. Like
Yeah.
people, I don't know if you remember. Like even Dave Chappelle said it, but I remember
Yeah.
this.
Who cares what Ja Rule thinks?
But I remember this being on like Capital Radio, and he's like, this is just a tragedy." He's like, "What the fuck?" I remember.
Why are you
thinking
asking
that
Ja Rule? Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like,
We don't care what Ja Rule thinks.
honestly, you get your fuck with
Someone get Ja Rule on the phone.
Oh man, the Taliban have taken over Kabul. What does Ja Rule think about
So
that?
quick, someone get Ja Rule on the phone.
I need to know
can't
what he
I
thinks.
can't do Dave Chappelle's voice, but his voice is perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, but no, it was a really good time because, like, if you think about it, music wasn't homogenized as it is now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. 100%.
I mean, even like I love like rock and metal and stuff like that. Again, I've barely touched metal in the last few years because it all sounds the same. Dude, it's so bad. Like it's all
I'm feeling that with
homogenized.
hip hop recently. I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling that with some of the newer hip hop recently. I'm having to skim through a lot of bullshit to get to something that will actually like today. Today's like we're recording this on a Friday, so there's a new music that's dropped today, and I still look forward to Fridays for the music drops. But I know now there's artists when I see them drop, I'm like, I kind of don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, literally unless someone says, man, this new album by whoever is sick, it's worth checking out. It's like, okay, whatever, fine. But like today, Mick Jenkins dropped an album which I'm really looking forward to sitting down and listening to.
Yeah,
because I've heard all the singles. They sound so good. And then people like there was a joint like 3-song EP with Reason, Wale, and Benny the Butcher, which I did not know was coming out.
I didn't know that was coming out. Let me know how that goes.
That was sick. I've heard it already. It's really interesting. It's just cool. It's just some good, cool hip hop songs, and I don't know. Didn't expect them three to just link up like that.
Wale he's like a Swiss Army knife though. Good in any situation. He's awesome.
I might check out his project as well. Actually, that's the problem though. I get what you mean because his everything is felt. You're right. There was a point back then where even when we watch I watch old videos with my brother from that time period.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember this song we used to like, and this Nelly song, and this 50 Cent song, and this Eminem song, and this
Nelly Country
song.
Grammar. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And he had that double album, the Sweatsuit one, and they were both completely different vibes or whatever. And when we listen back to those, when we watch those videos back, I listen to the beats. I'm like, man, this beat's so different from this other beat, and this one's so different. This song's so different from this one. This one's just so creative and it's different from this one. And it's not even like rose tinted glasses that I'm looking at. It's just that when you do listen to some of the, and there is more music now. That's the thing. So there is a lot more. So there's more to skim through. But yeah, there's sometimes you'll hear about a new artist, but like, oh, that sounds interesting. You go and listen to them. It's like, it just sounds like the last guy. It's like, why is he being hyped? I don't get it. He just sounds like the last guy. Am I missing something? Am I turning into an old man? Like, no, my filter has changed.
No, you're actually just seeing through the bullshit like of what's being peddled as good music because there
I mean, I
used
don't
to
even
be
know if it's good or
variety.
bad. It's just, yeah, it's
It
just a
just feels the
variety.
same, and
Yeah,
then you're just thinking, all right, okay, fine, I'll just go on vibes, and you'll vibe to the music that feels good to you, and that's
yeah.
all you can really do in this day and age. We're oversaturated. Like the fact
Oh
that
yeah.
like it's
I
like
actually hate it.
new music drop Friday. Like every Friday, there's new music, and you're like, actually,
Give it a rest.
you're gonna have to do that like 52 times a year. Like actually, have a week off, have a month off if you want. I don't
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't need music every week. Actually, I need to sit with the music I've got.
I need to sit with it 100%.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
need to sit with it,
100%.
and I need to understand. Like it's just a barrage. Like people just don't understand how to sit with music. I remember back in the day. Do you know how long I had to wait for Nas's Stillmatic to come out? That was an
Oh yeah.
event for me
Yeah,
because
I
I was
remember
like,
for Lloyd
Nas might
Banks.
be the greatest rapper of all time at that point. I was thinking, I think he's the best, you
Yeah.
know. And Stillmatic, I had to wait fucking ages for that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Scarface is the fix.
Yeah.
2000 and what, three?
Yeah.
2002? I had
I
to
can't remember.
wait yonks for that. And it was an event when he dropped it. I was like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But like nowadays, it's just like everybody, because of the streaming services, like everyone's just like Benny the Butcher, as much as I like him, prolific output. I'm just
Hmm.
like, no, Benny, I, I'm still on your album that you dropped like last year.
Yeah, right, right, yeah.
I'm still there. Like this is great that you're doing it. Like West Side Gun, West Side Gun though. He's my boy. I love him.
Same.
but but yeah, I just think that people need to just chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like go back to
Yeah.
having to wait for this album after Linkin Park's first album was death. I hated it,
I
but
know what you mean.
I was bumping Linkin Park's first album
Yeah.
genuinely every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah,
every day,
yeah.
like whole
I had
album.
artists like that as well. Yeah, 100%. I have been thinking that a lot recently about I was even speaking to my friend about it the other day when we went somewhere and we were talking about he was like, yeah, when I look at my liked songs on Spotify, I have like 1,000 songs or so, like more than that in it, 2,000 songs, whatever. And I checked mine the other day. Mine's like 6,000, but mine's more like a organizational thing so that I can look
Right,
at an album and see, oh, I like that song. I like that song. I like that song.
right.
There's only 3 out of 10. Does this album deserve to be in my library or should I listen to it again? You know, it's like a reminder kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, but still, he was like, yeah, when I shuffle the songs, I end up just skipping through a lot of them because
yeah.
there's so much music out there. And then I'll hear something, I'll be like, this is cool. Like, this is cool. Like, as opposed to, wow, this is really grabbing me. I want to listen to it again. You're
I
just
am the
throwing
same.
it in a
Yeah,
pile. And I do it too. And
yeah.
I'm like, sometimes I just want to delete all of it and just start again. Do you know what I mean? Just go in and just sometimes I sometimes treat my Spotify as like it's just a music discovery platform.
Oh,
And
that's how
my
I've always. Yeah,
yeah, right. So it's just I go and search something I want to listen to. I go and look for stuff on the daily mixes or the
hmm
playlist they have or whatever. But my collection is kind of what's on my records or my Apple Music or music albums that I know off the top of my head. If someone said, "Okay, build your library from scratch," I can be like, "Okay, yep." Type in Tupac, yep, this album, this album, this album.
I've got my
Biggie, this album,
50
this album.
albums like already. I know
Yeah,
exactly where I'm
yeah,
going.
I know which albums I'm gonna go and search for and be like, these need to be in my library.
Yeah, a
I look at my
hundred
library.
percent.
Oh, it's missing this. Got to have this. Got to have this. Got to have this. Do you know what I mean? Because some I've done that before, where I built it back up again, and then some albums I'll remember later, way later, and be like, oh shit, I didn't add that one. Okay, well, I'll just add it for the sake of it now, and then it goes
Yeah,
back to being saturated again with stuff that I
yeah,
just don't.
yeah.
I listened to, liked, didn't actually care about returning to. So now I'm a bit more whatever about it. You know, I'll hear an album,
Selective.
it's cool. Yeah, more selective because it actually brings the fun back. The overabundance and the overabundance of choice actually is not as all it's cracked out to be.
I think it's a bad thing because
I think it's a
music
bad thing too.
used to be an event and it's not. It's
It
now
loses the value
ordinary.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. It's just something to, and I get it. Times change, things change, or whatever, and you have to adapt to the climate. But still, like the baby, I really thought he was a great rapper. but none of his albums are making it into my library because he's pumping out music continuously. Yes, it's kept him kind of given him a name, but the quality isn't really there. Griselda are like a bit of a different breed. Like they really found a lane which kind of requires quality in order to get made. So they have to put in that quality, but they've also put in the work. And they're so prolific, but they have a high success rate because they stick to what they're doing. There's some artists that just drop. It's like they just basically make songs. They go back in the hard drive and be like, shit, I need to drop some more stuff. Okay, go back in the hard drive. Here's 10, 12 more songs, throw them out. No real care for the actual art. It's more about the numbers, getting my name out there. And it's cool. You have to play it as much as you want. But when you look back at your legacy, you're going to have a whole bunch of mid as opposed to a whole bunch of quality.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm really trying to reignite that again in my listening habits, you know, bringing back the quality and the value to my music, how I feel about it, not just listening to everything once and then just moving on. So what's the point?
Well, you know what? I used to try and listen to like 5 new albums a week. And I used to do it a lot. And then I realized out of every 100 albums I'd listen to, maybe 2. It's on a 2%. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. So, I'm just listening and what am I listening for? I'm listening in pursuit of adding to that list of albums that I absolutely love.
Yeah, it was just more like I'm trying to diversify my tastes. Like maybe I'm trying to. Then I stopped doing it because I was just like, actually, I'm not really getting much. Like, yeah, I'm listening to more cool stuff, but yeah, I don't really care.
But it's not sticking with me. It starts becoming soundtrack, like background music.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. It starts losing its sheen.
Yeah,
but I tell you what.
No, go on. Yeah.
No, go on.
I was going to say there's a philosopher called Montaigne, who helped flip the script for me because he talks about if you're reading a book and you get bored of it, don't feel. This is just one thing, like one small thing that he said. In general, he's got quite a few interesting things that he says, which are quite helpful. But one of the things he said that kind of stuck with me was, you know, he didn't care about trying to complete stuff or only enjoy and read stuff because everyone said that it's necessary or because you have to. So for him, if he started a book and then found himself getting bored halfway through, he would just discard it and go to the next one. Do you know what I mean? Like he would just be like, why am I wasting my time? Because it's not hitting me. So
right,
let's go. And then if actually this is really sticking with me, so he stays with it, he dives into it, and it becomes part of him. As opposed to trying to read something, because back then it would have been more for reading and books and stuff.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to read something because it's critically acclaimed and because he feels like he has to have read it from beginning to end, even if it's a fucking chore to get through, and it doesn't interest him in the slightest.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, bro, fuck that shit. Throw it away. Get another one.
Do you know what? I've recently gotten good at that because I used to be like
same.
When it came to films and stuff, and especially books. Like I'd be like, I'm gonna read it. Like I got a Stephen King book. I got it for like a holiday, or was it honeymoon or something like that? I can't remember. I can't remember what it's called. Like it's a massive book as well.
Sure.
It's not the Dark Tower or anything like that. It's something like whatever. I got 50 pages into this bad boy, and I was like, nah, sat on my shelf even now. Just like nah.
Yeah.
But whereas beforehand, I remember I read 2.5 books of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And my mate James Francesco, he is massively into, like, he loves fantasy and all of that stuff, right? And he was like, oh, you got to finish it. Spoiler alert. Could not stand the books of Lord of the Rings. I found them unreadable. They were so boring.
I don't
care about 100 pages of Tom Bombadil. What? We
Yeah.
meet the person that can end the whole crisis in one go, but he's like, no, I'd rather sit here and do nothing. So we got 2.5 books of it. No, mate, that's not smart. It's not adding to mythos. That's just, you've basically got like God sitting in a forest who can end all of this.
Is that who he is?
Oh, I don't know if he's really God, but he's like super powerful.
No, yeah, but I recognize the name because I tried to read the first, because I'm like, I love the films.
Yeah, I love
that
the
kind
films.
of genre of stuff. Yeah, so
yeah.
I remember, oh man, my dad would get me like these books. Like I got the Harry Potter books as a box set, which just made them even more like, oh man, I want to read all of
Inaccessible.
these. Yeah, because it's like, oh man, they've all got different like covers and color schemes, and you're like, man, I want to get through all these. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like something to look forward to and really like dive into. So he got me a Lord of the Rings one, which had The Hobbit as well at the beginning.
Great book.
And yeah, that one was great.
One of the best books I've ever read. Easy.
Yeah. But then there's a departure when it gets to the first Lord of the Rings book. I got to the end of that and I had no idea what had happened.
Yeah. I got to the halfway through the last Return of the King.
No
I was
idea.
like, I don't get. I was like, I remember just sitting there, just like, I don't care anymore. And I was like, I'm going to sleep. Fuck this. I never looked back, and I've forgotten. Yeah. I just remember Tom Bombadil because I was like, oh right, it just upset me. It just really upset me.
I recognize that part. That's in the first book. I think
in the first,
right?
It's like the first
place they go to when they go for. Yeah, it's the first. I didn't know. I see. That's the thing. I read that book. I read that part twice because I even went back to the book a few years later.
Yeah,
and tried to read it a bit more kind of, focused. And
it's
it was
unreadable,
a bit better, but still, it was hard. Like I still haven't got through it.
Yeah,
like,
I
books
would never.
Are there on my shelf. And
but then I don't know if you've tried to read the Silmarillion. Like,
fuck that shit.
Yeah, so I was like, I've got it. I've got a really old copy of it, and I'm like,
I'm gonna sell mine. Yeah.
Nah, I'm not. I'm not gonna sell it, but I ain't gonna read it.
Yeah, I remember getting it back then because it was like, oh, another Lord of the Rings type book. I thought, okay, I thought it'd be like a story thing. Yeah. It's like this. That Tolkien guy was a fucking nerd. Like you can say, like not in a bad way, but he really wore that shit. He
made Elvish, didn't he? He made a language.
Yeah, he made the whole language,
and it's
like I think the maps and everything. Like,
yeah, give me the maps, like a reference point. Yeah, cool. Give me all that. I love it. I think that's great. I want a reference point. Like in Game of Thrones,
we love watching a creative genius at work. That's great.
Show me Westeros in Game of Thrones. Cool, I get it. However, make a book. Like, give me a story. Like none of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like Thrall, son of Thrain, son of
that.
Whatever. Like I'm like, fuck off. I don't care like about your lineage.
Literally, it reads like parts of the Bible. Like so and so begot this person, and then who was son of this
like
person,
David, son of Abraham, son of blah blah blah. Yeah,
going like that, and I'm like, these aren't even like I don't like.
This isn't real.
This isn't real. At least the Bible has some kind of real world kind of basis,
value,
right?
And basis,
someone actually wrote it about people who actually did live. I think this book is about something completely unreal, and I'm just sitting there like. I remember reading it as a kid thinking, what the fuck's going on? I didn't know books were like this. I thought this was like a story.
Yeah.
I could not get it. I just couldn't understand it. Yeah. But back then I wouldn't have had the mindset. I would have had the mindset of, I have to be able to know how to read this because they're such big books and people love them and they even got movies made out of them. So maybe I'm missing something. When I heard that Montaigne guy and he was like, if you're just not interested, discard it. I've started applying that to music and TV shows. So
I am so bad on TV. The amount of shows on Netflix that are like continue watching. I'm like,
fuck that shit.
I have quit so many shows. Even on Disney Plus, right? My missus got it. People were telling me, "Oh, David, you should watch Loki, for example." Fell asleep.
Really, I loved Loki.
Half an hour into it, fell asleep. That's bad. Give me like look. Loki's 8 to 10 episodes, an hour an episode, right? Well, if you're telling me that I've got to watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier, I've got to watch flipping WandaVision, and What If that as well. Now, What If is half an hour. Give me that. Yeah. I did that in a couple of evenings. Thoroughly enjoyed What If, and it has my favorite line in probably any Marvel movie or Marvel property is, "Wait. What?"
I love that part too. Yeah. I must have. I was expecting, but
I must have rewound that bit about 10 times because it's just so like, he would say that because even when I watched it, I was like, I don't understand, and I had to back it up, and I was like, so wait, you blew up a galaxy.
Yeah.
and then he ate that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that when it got to that part, I was
That
thinking
was
when he did
wild.
that, he was basically narrating what was happening, but too close to as it was happening. Like he can hear a voice in the distance, but it's his voice that he's hearing. He's basically narrating what this guy's, without
Oh,
being
that
spoilerific.
bit.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I was
yeah. And then
talking
he's like,
about when Supreme Strange, um,
"Oh shit!"
when he blows up the galaxy, and then Supreme Strange just goes and then eats it in the last
Oh,
episode,
the
and then
last,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Wait, what?" And then Black Panther comes. Oh, sorry, Star Lord comes in and just blasts him. I just,
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember. Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that show was wild, and I
yeah. It was.
absolutely loved it. And apparently there's season 2 because Gamora shows
Oh
up, and you're like, hang on a minute, what? And then he
yeah, because they
explains
didn't have her
everything.
story.
But yeah, her
Yeah,
story's going to be in the next one with like Cosmic
nice.
Iron Man in there. I'm like, yeah, give me that story.
Give
But
me
anyway,
all of that. Give me all of that. But yeah,
anyway,
we've gone
sorry,
very
flipping
far off.
love that.
Yeah. I can't remember how we got onto this.
Oh, bro,
Um,
like because nobody's listening, and then we've had a good session. But after all this talk, I'm
nice,
feeling
nice.
pretty
Okay,
numb.
nice. Okay, so the next song, Session. Uh, that's a cool instrumental interlude. That's cool. It's not much happening. There's a
It's a
lot
nice
happening, but there's
feeling. I just like
yeah,
it.
it's a cool feeling. It sounds cool. Then the album closer, which is Numb. Obviously, I've heard this one before. This is a great song. It hits that kind of pocket perfectly. I can see why this is so loved and why the mashup, like with Jay-Z, was so
Yeah,
big.
well, it works. Yeah,
Yeah, it works so well. And this is that kind of song where you don't feel put off when the screaming happens and the music comes in if you're a casual fan, because it just hits this really raw emotion. I
yeah.
think that's why, like I was
Well,
saying with that song Faint, I
it's
wasn't feeling
rock
that one.
singing as opposed to screaming.
Sure, okay, fine. See, that's the thing. To an outsider, it's like you can end up just labeling it all as a
The
one thing because
scream,
it
but
just sounds like screaming. Do you know what I mean? I guess when people talk about rappers just talking, whereas I'm like, bro, can you not hear the difference? So
yeah,
I guess
exactly. Yeah.
I'm guilty of that too. I guess, um, but yeah, I thought I was getting closer to this song and I was thinking, I wonder if I hear this again. It's the first time I've like heard this in a long time, like properly,
Mm.
since then. And this being the original, I was like, I wonder if I won't like it as much because I wonder if it'll have the same problem as Faint, where it's like I've heard it before. Yeah, I don't really like it too much.
Yeah.
It's a bit kind of made to be accessible. But this song came on, thoroughly enjoyed it as per usual, as I expected. So
It's
that
a
was a great closer.
wonderful song.
I mean, and thing is now knowing Chester's story and then seeing a song called Numb and hearing the things that he's
Yeah.
saying, it tars it with a different brush for me.
Somebody help this man. Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah, that's what it feels like it was saying. But yeah, we finally got through that. We thought this was going to be another quick one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10 because what?
Yeah, go on.
I think it's a really good album. There are just parts of it that hold me back from saying, "Oh, I would give it an 8 or a 9 or anything like that." It's like it's a great album, but we have to factor in the fact that this kind of genre is not necessarily for me, so the replay value is not there. There's certain parts of certain songs that are really high, but in other parts which just kind of I'm just kind of waiting for the highs to come. Like,
But
sorry,
but
unfortunately
it's
the mic should
rock
know the parts.
with rapping.
I'm gonna
It
level
had
with you.
rapping. No, I'm kidding, mate. I
Rock
think
rap
that's
is
fair.
is not even my genre of choice, to be fair. Like, uh, I don't like it when a lot of rappers do. I mean, some rappers can pull it off nicely,
Denzel
like
Curry.
Denzel Curry and some of the Rick Rubin stuff from the 80s or whatever. And when he linked up with Eminem, but not the second time around. The second time around was fucking trash. But the like when he did stuff like on the Marshall Mathers LP2, that was fresh. But
And
on Revival, it was a bit like by the numbers, a bit boring.
yeah,
Um, that kind of rock rap stuff doesn't really do it for me in general. But
I am going to
unless
give you a
it's
Limp Bizkit album, but yeah, go on.
fuck. Okay.
Top five.
Top five. Don't Stay, because that song's just
Stunning.
consistently stays in my head.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Somewhere I Belong.
Great song.
Great song. Easier to Run.
Wonderful song.
Yep. That's the one with the bit. Oh, that's the freehand song he wrote. Yep. Nobody's Listening, for obvious reasons. And Numb, also for obvious reasons.
Great.
So those are my top five.
Thing is, you could have picked, to be honest, anything but Faint could have been in the top five.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I think this album is a wall-to-wall banger. 7, I think, is a fair enough, mate. I think that's a success when it comes to all these rock albums, in all fairness.
100%. 100%.
Would have literally made my K&D exchange if you'd have made it about 7.5, but I'll take the 7, take the L.
I did consider it. I also considered it a 6.5. But then I thought, nah, that doesn't feel right. 7 feels like it's a good album, but it's held back by certain things that are just a result of my circumstance, not being that into the genre in the first place, not being into Mike Shinoda's kind of parts, and he's a big part of the album, so obviously that's going to hold it back. But
definitely, man. I think that's fair.
It doesn't detract enough away, but it's not enough. If it was an 8 out of 10, then though it would have to be that those things didn't bother me as much. Do you know what I mean?
True that.
For it to be a 6, it would be that, even if you got rid of those things I didn't like, the album still isn't really all that. Do you know what I mean? So 7 kind of felt like the right point.
I think that's fair enough, man. I'm just you know what I mean? I'm just being a princess about it. So KD, what album are you going to give me?
I am going to give you, so I'm going to do a KD special and give you an artist I've already given you.
Kofi Stone?
Nope. That guy has 1 album, so I'm it's unfortunate. Otherwise, I'd love to discuss more Kofi material. Have you heard his 2 songs that he dropped this year?
You heard like one.
First Day and something else, I think. I think it's called First Day.
I heard one. I
downloaded
it and I was like, oh yeah, I like it.
I love him. I love him, man.
He's so
played constantly.
He's so good. But anyway, go on then. KD special. So
I'm bringing back. So this one is Take Care by Drake. No, I'm joking. This is. I'm joking. I'm bringing back Loyal Kana to the chamber.
Loyal Kana!
Yeah. Throwback to our very first episode. Well, first proper episode.
Loyal. Get to the chopper! Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Expect lots and lots of that next week, you poor man.
It's cool, man. It's cool. Loyal Kana, Not Waving, but Drowning. This came out 2019, 2 years after Yesterday's Gone, which we've already discussed on here. His second album. It's different to the first, but similar, but the differences are significant enough. And actually, I added this one back because I was thinking about our discussion on the first one. And I was thinking, I wonder, it's the same thing with Drake, where it was like, I wonder if this one will be different, if that makes sense. Like the assessment will be different. But yeah, this guy's only dropped 2 albums as well. And in this climate, crazy.
He's flipping lazy. No, he's going through it. He respects the audience. You need an album every, I think the sweet spot is like 2 to 3 years in between albums. I think that's the sweet spot. Yeah. But sometimes, like, if you can leave it longer, oh boy, like do a D'Angelo.
Oh yeah, no.
In
my own personal career, I think I would only be leaving bigger gaps, and then it could be a circumstance of the climate that I happen to be in right now. The bigger gaps would be left to later in my career or when I'm older. Now, it kind of has to be, if not an album per year, something per year. Do you know what I mean? Something. So even if it's an album and then a joint album with someone else or something the next year. Do you know what I mean? Because people will forget you as you're building your name. And that's just unfortunate. But
let them forget and then remind them.
Yeah, it could happen. But someone like Loyal Kana seems to be doing well. I mean, he jumps on features, but even then, he's not that prolific with the features. I think his sound is just so unique, and he has a niche kind of following that he can sustain himself on that. Kind of like J. Cole could to an extent as well. But
Comparing
yeah,
Loyal
Loyal
Kana
Kana.
to J. Cole, I love it. Brave, I love it.
In what brave in what way?
No, I'm
I'm
just
interested.
being silly. That was. I'm tired. Just
Oh,
ignore
okay.
me.
Oh no, I thought that was like a discussion point that people. I don't know. I thought it was like, oh wait, is there a huge disparity?
Is there a
But
huge
yeah,
disparity? Well, apart from ability, but yeah, and
that's what I'm
deliverance.
asking. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm
Oh
asking.
right. Well, yeah, J. Cole has dynamism, and like kind of like really, really paints like quite ornate pictures. Whereas I think Loyal Kana, while is a decent, Loyal Kana's like spoken word to me. So the
Sure,
images he conjures up, he's more close to home. Whereas I think I'd look at J. Cole more as a storyteller because I can't really identify with his way of living because he's obviously American and I'm a
sure.
Brit. Whereas Loyal
Got you.
Kana is
Got you.
just kind of like he could be my cousin.
Yeah, he's your mate just talking to you, and there's music playing in the background.
That's exactly it. So I think there is a disparity there, but that's only because of geography, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
But
I
that's
get that.
going off of the. I haven't listened to his first album since we did it, so I am going purely off
No, I agree with you. J Cole
like
is more dynamic.
feel, but yeah,
Yeah, J
because I
Cole is more
listened.
dynamic.
Yeah, especially on his like newest album that
Oh
it
yeah,
was all
yeah.
right, but then I haven't listened to it since. But that's
People used to. I remember the days when people used to call J Cole boring. I remember those days.
do you know
I don't
what,
hear it as
man?
much anymore.
2011, 2012, J. Cole, I was such a fan. I was such a
Mm.
fan. I thought he was awesome. And then I don't know what happened, but like I just lost. I was talking to Chris about this the other day. I just lost something. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like after I saw him in the O2 or whatever. I was just like, something happened where I was like, I don't. I think he's good. I think he's a fantastic storyteller. I just don't like the hyperbole around him. People are like
Yeah,
looking at him like he's the single greatest savior of hip hop, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but Kendrick Lamar's still breathing. But anyway,
yeah. I don't
um,
like that either. Yeah, people
people,
even this year saying that his album, The Off Season, which was a great album, they keep saying that it's the album of the year, like
it
without
definitely
any
isn't.
question. And I'm like, bro, Tyler the Creator's album is out there. Isaiah Rashad's album is out there. Nas's King's Disease 2 is there.
King's
Like
Disease
how
trumps that easy.
100%. And that's no hate to J. Cole because that album is
Eh,
sick, but like these albums are like get replayed, you know? It's
Yeah,
unfortunate. It's just how it is. Like for me personally, those other albums come up all the time. I forget that J. Cole dropped an album.
same. That's the thing. I haven't listened to it since. Just talking
Yeah.
about J. Cole, I was like, oh yeah, he dropped this year.
Yeah. Same. I always forget. And as much as I will say to people, yeah, yeah, off season, great album. It stays at that and that's it.
Yeah, man.
I don't
That's that's the
go
thing.
back
I
and listen
don't
to it.
like the hyperbole around him, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it just he's very good at what he does, but he's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
I'm
that's
still a
it.
huge fan. I love J. Cole. I'm still a huge fan. Let's not get it twisted,
Yeah,
but
he's good, man. But
I agree with you. Like
people need to
I
just get off his get off
off
his.
his nutsack, 100%.
Right, let me wrap this bad boy up. I'm flagging now.
Do your thing, man. I've got ice
Right,
cream waiting for me.
everybody. Thank you so much if you've been rocking with us till the end of this very, very long episode. Linkin Park, one of the best bands I've ever. I just love them. So it was a pleasure to talk about. Sorry, KD, for interrupting you at every point. Like throughout this discussion, I just got really hyped
Oh
and
no,
ahead of
no,
myself.
it's all
Because I
part of it, man.
absolutely adore this album. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. Hope you are all well and good. And if you're not, call somebody, talk to somebody. Don't be alone.
Yep.
We are all we've got in these turbulent times. And this has been an absolute pleasure. Until next time, heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Peace. And we got that one.